What's up, y'all? It's Shuffle, and we're coming back to part 2, the long-awaited sequel to the prequel of the enemy tier list, featuring special guest, awesome person, Sammy, the half creator or whatever you want to call it of the Gaunt Kyrogen, and we're back again. So say hi.
Yeah, this is like the third time I've been pestering Shuffle to make this, so finally here, and I'm excited. These are some pretty fun enemies that I've been looking forward to talking about. This time we're rounding up all the rest of the most of the rest of the region agnostic enemies with creatures and creatures and a mini boss lightning round at the end. So I'm excited.
I think lightning round's a good word for it too, because it's literally 4 of them right there.
Yeah. All 4 of them, and that's like maybe did anti and Kyrogen last time, so that's like all the midi bosses in the game already. I mean, unless Exemplar counts, but I think he's more of a full boss. But the terms are pretty loose, anyways. There's layer bosses, there's mountain bosses, there's mini bosses, there's whatever bosses like Exemplar. Who even knows?
I know they're all just words at the end of the day.
Big strong guy.
All right, so I guess we'll start. I shouldn't say I guess. We're definitely starting with the spiders. So it's
everyone's favorite.
Oh, that's right. I need to get the wiki up too.
Oh, boy. Everyone's favorite little guys. Oh, good. You're using the right wiki.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm aware.
Like, it's not even just that fandom is a bad platform at this point. Since the wiki migrated, the fandom wiki has just become significantly worse.
Yeah, it's just outdated. No one works on it. All right. So
alrighty.
We got Weber. The setup to the dunk or whatever that is the spitter. And pretty frail, all things considered, but then you got 5 speed, which is relatively quick, and then you have the signature attack in Web, which no one likes getting hit by.
Yeah, you say he's frail, but he doesn't feel fragile compared to other enemies because of the 2 dodge he starts with, because you sort of end up having to swing into it about as many times as a normal enemy with normal amounts of health, unless you bring dodge clear.
That's true. I mean, that extra dodge could give it, like 6 extra effective HP or something like that. So it's still like 3 hits to get rid of it.
I think honestly that's the main reason people hate the 4 spider mash, because that's 8 dodge across the whole team. So unless you have Hearthlight or Bellow or something, you're just missing and missing and missing and missing over and over until you can finally start hitting them.
Yeah, it's a very slow fight. We'll see why with the spitter too, but between the stuns and the blinds and the dodge and stuff like that.
Oh my god, I forgot spit blinds.
Yeah.
Maybe spiders are bad, actually.
Yeah, so you're pretty much just, in the spectator seat for literally like 4 rounds if you're unlucky.
Yeah, I pick Runaway a lot, so I usually have Hearthlight for these fights, so it doesn't feel as bad to me, but it's still a lot of work for what feels like should be pretty squishy enemies.
Yeah.
And I didn't know Bite has a cooldown. What?
It does? I thought Web had the cooldown. Is that a mistake?
Maybe I guess if that is true, I guess it would be so that to ensure they use Web more than Bite, which is that's such a dick move. That's so funny.
It is. With Weber, it's got some decent survivability between the dodge, which you're right about, and then you have like the stuns and whatever. So it's mildly annoying, and in some cases it's more dangerous than Spitter, but
it's not a huge threat on its own. And if it shows up in teams without Spitters, it's pretty much fine. in my experience, because the other enemies are a lot. The the other creature enemies don't do enough damage to capitalize on the vuln really well, and none of them have combo synergy either, so web doesn't hurt you nearly as much.
Yeah.
It's just when they're with spitters that they become very dangerous.
Yes, and that's a good point too about the lack of combo interaction between the rest of the creatures. Also, web having 15% crit. I don't know if I'm about that. Kind
That's
of a
they really
pretty
want you
high.
stunned. Web will only apply combo from region 3 onwards and only if a spitter is present. Huh. I never
Oh,
noticed that.
I didn't either. The more you
I
know.
learned something today. I knew about worms, but not this.
Yeah,
That's cool.
it is.
Though I do think it's kind of funny that they can bite anyone from anywhere. Like how long are those fangs?
They're quick little buggers.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. All right. I think.
I'm ready to rank this.
Yeah.
Unless you got something else.
I don't. I was. All my other comments are for Spitter, really. But I will say he is pretty cute. The way they move in this game is pretty charming to me. But then again, I just like bugs in general. So
I hate spiders, so we're
yeah,
gonna
that's fair.
disagree there.
That's understandable too. But definitely no higher than B. You've probably convinced me to put them in C if you wanted to, but they're just not that special on their own. And when they are special with spitters, it becomes a bit annoying.
Yeah, so what I want to say is I'll probably drop them in C, or that's where my vote's going. But in terms of like the Weber, obviously they do look good, the animations are good. In terms of an enemy, it is memorable. You know, you kind of change your thinking when they appear. And a lot of the issues that the Spider Mash has isn't really because of Weber. It's
I
because of
will, yeah.
Spitter. So if you like gauge Weber on its own, it's annoying for sure, but it's not like the absolute powerhouse that it is when its buddies are there.
I do think it's pretty cool to have an enemy most dangerous uh whose most dangerous attribute is essentially a support move in web that just
Yeah.
it does no damage. It's just dangerous because it stuns you and controls you, which that's cool with enemies. I like that, but
It
it
is.
doesn't make web any more fun to get hit by.
Oh no one. I mean, we talked about this with Widow and like Ghoul and stuff. No one likes getting hit by stuns in this
No.
game. They were annoying in the first game too, but they weren't as easy for the enemy to get off because you were stunning them instead.
I don't even. I feel like not a lot of enemies in the first game even had stuns. There was what Bone General, uh, Chevalier.
You know, I thought
And
the same thing, and then someone listed out like all of the stun stuff, and it actually was more than I expected. But I'd have to go back through it.
I guess I just don't remember DD1 enemies that much. I've been playing too much Black Reliquary.
Yeah, like
Uh,
you got Bone General, the Bone Soldier, the Bone Sergeant, that dude. Like Prophet
oh,
has
true.
it.
There's two skeletons to do it.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason.
Yeah.
I guess it just maybe stuns feel more common in this game because there's less ways for you to boost or stun resist. Like there's no resolve levels and whatnot. That's
Yeah,
also a
it's much harder
possibility.
to mitigate them in this.
Yeah.
Right,
So
placements.
probably my vote's B. Now that I've thought about it a bit more, but C is also fine. He'll survive.
Hold on.
He's nothing too special.
There we go.
New Weber. Yeah, I like that. Okay, that's good.
So silly.
Perfect.
All
I mean,
right.
the tier list is honestly more of an excuse to discuss the enemies, anyways. I'm not
Yes.
super serious about the rankings, so
Yeah.
honestly, this is cool with me.
I totally agree too. I mean, people get it twisted, you know, with tier lists. Like, oh my god, they put this here and that there, and it's like it's just opinions, bro.
Yeah, it's just opinions, except for Woodsman. That one's a fact.
Thought you were gonna say Kyrogen.
No, I'm not that vain.
All right, well,
All right, let's get
Webor,
Spitter
not
in
Weber.
here.
It's Spitter, the actual asshole.
Yeah. Oh boy. Uh, It can only bite in the front. For some reason I don't pay
Yeah.
attention to spider. I don't really pay attention to the creatures' moves, like how they work in the targeting
I will
side of things. I
say,
just sort of assume that all the creatures can hit anyone, 'cause that way I'm never surprised.
yeah. The reason I think the bite being usable up front is relevant for Spitter specifically, though, is because since Spit is such a dangerous move, if you have any chance to get this up front, you should take it.
I genuinely didn't notice that. I'll try that next time. But looking at this, it obviously has the guaranteed crit versus combo. Spit is always used if a target has combo. That's what I figured, but that's good to know. And considering Web applies Vuln and combo, then that's assuming max damage. That's 4 plus 50% for the Vuln. That's 6, and then crit is 9, which 9 damage doesn't feel that bad, but it also blinds you, and it blights you, and it stresses you because it crit.
And it gives you 15 damage in Blight. And this is before they're ordained, by the way.
Of course, yes.
So this gets out of hand very quickly.
And there's basically always 2 of them, also.
Yeah, I think there's like a super not common match that's like 2 Webbers in the middle, a Spitter in the back, and like a Worm up front or something.
Yeah.
That's like the only exception. But this thing down here too, where it says Webbers only apply combo in Region 3 onwards, this is misleading in a way, because if you don't pay attention, the Valley's considered Region 1. And so the next region is like your short one, and then your first normal size region is when this starts happening. So you get this for 2 regions.
So, yeah, 2 regions, unless you are in denial, I guess, but no one plays denial.
Sluice might change it too, I guess, because you get the Sluice creature.
Sluice doesn't count as a region.
It doesn't, but what I'm thinking is like after Region 3, when it can happen, then if you take a creature den, that's like one more very small chance of this happening.
Yeah, that's true. But obviously you don't have a choice on whether you take a creature den in the sluice or not.
Yeah, for sure.
You just run into it. But interesting to see I never noticed that their bite was actually much weaker than Weber's. It only does 1 blight and is obviously only usable in the front. So, that is actually, there is counterplay, moving them out of position. That's more than I gave them credit for initially, but Spit is just so dangerous.
Yeah.
It's honestly the blind. The more I think about it, the blind just puts you in a death spiral light, because you keep swinging to get rid of the blind, and missing, and swinging into the dodge and missing, and getting stunned and not getting to hit. And the more you're getting Spit, you're also getting blinded, but you also keep needing to heal or cure the blight or something to keep yourself from just dying. So this is all time you're spending not hitting the spiders.
You're totally right. And this is one of those types of enemies where they beat you through like better action economy. And some of the most dangerous fights in both Darkest Dungeon 1 and 2 are the ones where they try and drain your action economy by making you do very suboptimal stuff while they're running it like full steam.
And honestly, I think that sort of gameplay dynamic is one of Darkest Dungeon as a whole, like the series' main strengths. Like you don't see that type of gameplay in many other turn-based RPGs. So it is cool to see a fight designed around that sort of thing in a game where a lot of threats are huge damage, lots of stress, 500 burn, cleave, or whatever.
Yeah. No, the spiders, they're a group of enemies. They just try and grind you out. Like they're going to try and stretch the fight to like 7 turns.
This is between that and Creature Den's 2-wave structure, it really feels like that was the Like that was the entire design philosophy around Creature Deaths, that they just wear you down. None of the enemies individually are very dangerous at all, but they just they just they just wear you down with their numbers and their synergy. And this is where you really feel the 3 use limit on battlefield medicine.
Oh yeah, they matter a lot in this part. Strangely enough, though, talking about Plague Doctor, the Creature Den is the best use of ounce of prevention in
Oh,
the
yeah.
game.
Absolutely. This is why I upgrade Ounce of Prevention. It feels so
Because
good.
it blocks, 3 out of 4 things happen here. So like bleed, blight, and disease. And if you're doing resentment, there's also burn, so you can
Yeah.
take on
There you
everything.
go. Yeah. Honestly, I came into this having not really strong feelings on Spitter. I mean, it's pretty dangerous, pretty annoying, but I think really, now that I'm thinking about it, Spitter is the real asshole, but they're only really super annoying when they're combined with Weber. So I can't really rank either of them individually any lower because they both feel fine on their own. It's just when they feel mostly fine on their own. It's just when they're together that it becomes a nightmare.
It was this
Which
way in
on
the
the one
first game,
hand I
too.
sort of respect, but on the other hand it's also a nightmare.
Yeah, and it is a nice dynamic between the two of them. It's like, hey, let me get my buddies, then you're in trouble kind of thing. It's my only real complaint with the Spider Mash is not so much the spiders themselves. It's stuff like Ordainment or Hastened. Hastened's a nightmare with these things. And I think that Spit just does a little too much in terms of like blight damage for like a guaranteed crit against a vuln target. Like
Basically guarantees the blight will stick.
Yes.
And for 5 turns.
Yeah, it's so strong.
Yeah.
So like if the blight went down even a point, I think I would hate the move much less.
Well, it's if you think about it, Spit is basically just slightly worse venom drop poison darts. So you should just use that and give them a taste of their own medicine.
You could stick it. They got 60 blight rest.
Oh shit, you're right. I thought that was also 10.
Although, good point. Grave Robber propaganda, Nightsworn Grave Robber can ping off 3 dodge with flashing. Pretty good.
Yeah, baby.
Almost about to be a spider tier.
With that said, I do want to mention one thing that makes me like both the spiders significantly more, and that's their disease. Now, hear me out.
Tarantism's interesting.
Tarantism is so funny, and I don't think a lot of people realize how funny it is. The name Tarantism is based off of a disease that in like 15th to 17th century caused muscle spasms and uncontrollable movements that people assumed at the time was caused by the bite of spiders, but it wasn't actually. It was a completely different disease. This is also where the name of the dance, the Tarantella, came from, because Taran means spiders. So Tarantism in this game is spiders literally giving you a disease that makes you dance. And I think that's hilarious.
It is. It's super funny. And Tarantism, it's sort of a mixed bag, because even though everything's like a 5% chance to go off, I think, like 5% for forward, back, and dodge, it's like sometimes it doesn't do anything to you, sometimes it kind of screws you over, or sometimes
you get free dodge.
Yeah. So it's, as in terms of diseases, it's actually one of the most tame. So if you're trying to like activate Sickening Silence, this is a good target.
Yeah, it can actually be helpful in some cases.
Yeah,
which is rare for diseases in this game.
Yes. The only thing I'll say is it sucks on characters that have to be in a specific spot. So like rank 1. Yeah, that's when it hurts.
Don't let Hellion get that.
Yeah. Leper's not getting it because you're running Tempest and he's almost immune, so.
I'm not.
Moving on to
Yeah.
the
Uh,
rank.
yeah, that's good. Spitter can go in Weber tier. Yeah, I just I just think Tarantism is so funny, and the spiders. Yeah, honestly, it's halfway a joke, but I honestly agree with putting them in their own tier because they're both, like I said, they're both manageable on their own, but together is when they really shine, both for better and worse. So putting them together just feels right.
Yeah, because individually, in terms of like strength, like you were saying, they're not super dangerous by themselves. Together, actual massive threat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
The
worm
worms. How do you feel about
times.
the worms?
It's worm time, baby. I love the worms just out of principle because of their corpse light uh
Yeah.
interaction and their Kyrogen buff, which is just my favorite thing ever. Um, but in regards to the worms themselves, where 99% of players will actually find them, I think it's actually pretty cool that they turned the worms into like almost the tank
Yeah,
of the group
they are.
when they eat. At least you got to stop them from eating before they turn into the tank worm and make uh killing everything else much harder.
Yeah. Something I didn't notice too, there's a small aside. I didn't realize the creature den icon actually had like a little pair of eyes.
Oh
Very
yeah,
cool.
that's always been cute to me. Um, uh, Necrophagia, extra action, clear
As far
corpse.
as the worms go though, like I think they are really cool.
I
And
honestly like the worms a lot, like
yeah,
because we saw they were coming back in the teaser images for the Creature Den update. But they didn't show the big worms at all. They just showed the little worms that we know from DD1.
okay.
So we see them. When the update comes out, I played the game. I saw them show up, and I'm like, oh, it's just the worms. They just punch you, just like normal. That's kind of lame, but whatever. And I I left a corpse out for too long, and they ate it, and they transformed before my eyes into a big scary worm. And I'm like, that is really cool. That's something new they did with an old enemy that I didn't expect, and that's a really cool thing about this game compared to its
It
first
is.
one. They
And I think stuff like that too is having that kind of interaction also shows the studio's development in terms of designing content where it's like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
now we understand, what we want to do better. We have more heads in the room that are thinking about this, and we can do different crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And it's even
Like,
funnier because the worm eating the corpse would never have happened if they folded on the corpse controversy like
I
9 years
know.
ago.
It's so cool to think about how they've gotten to this point. Especially since like and then it's easy to forget this from our current standpoint where DD2 has been fully released for almost a year and they've added crazy things like an enemy that cures your diseases and worms that appear at the end of every round if you leave corpses open, or a stacking crit buff that lasts the entire region but stresses your teammates with one of the referral flames. But like even stuff as simple as this, like an enemy eating a corpse and transforming into a different enemy, that was insane back in 2021. Red Hook just hadn't really done stuff like that before.
Yeah, they're always pushing the boundary. And with that said, though, talked about everything around the worm,
Yeah.
and for the skills and stuff, like you're talking about the corpse eating and then the transformation stuff, and then Munch. This is almost like a carbon copy of the DD1 version. I
Yeah.
think it's like the same ranks, it bleeds, and it gives you the same disease. So it's a nice bait and switch because at the start, like you were saying, oh yeah, this is the same freaking enemy. They just ported it over, but it's not.
Yeah. It's such a good trick, and I think it just works. It works mechanically too. The little worm is very weak, and you're designed to want to just kill it before it becomes a problem by eating a corpse, which in a way that still makes it kind of a tank, even if it doesn't transform into the worm, because you're still trying to kill it before you kill anything else.
Yeah, it's taunting without the
So it
token.
so it can't eat the corpse, which I think is very clever and fun. But
It is.
I think the real star of the show is the big worm,
We'll
because
get to him
there's
in a
not
sec.
a whole lot to talk about with the little worm, because they do only have one real attack.
Yeah.
They have a lot of creature dens. Just have a lot of enemies that go together. Because I'd feel weird ranking Little Worm without the Big Worm, because they are, in some sense, the same enemy. So I can't. The worm itself doesn't feel like it can go too high, because I mean it literally just has one attack that does basically nothing. So like I think it's B because it does its job well enough, but it's nothing too exciting for what it is.
Are you gonna put the big worm with it? Is that why you're thinking about
No,
it?
I that's not what I was thinking. I was just rambling, to be completely honest.
Oh, okay.
My bad.
No, 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 it's fine. I'm just trying to figure out, off of what you said. I'm trying to figure out where I'd put it. I don't know. Like when you said it doesn't do much on its own, I kind of want to put it in C since it
Yeah, that's also
becomes
fair.
something better.
Yeah, that's reasonable. I agree with that. C for
Okay.
carrion eater.
Yeah, there you go. But in terms of the big boy,
Oh yeah. It's worm time, baby. Part 2. Um I really like the big worm. I just think it's such a cool effect how it can transform from the little worm, but it also does spawn by itself, so you can't ever avoid it completely. And obviously all its munch is much more powerful. But I think the real cool one is pulverize,
yeah,
because I I'm obviously super biased for supportive type enemies, so it's really cool to see that it again, it's arguably its most dangerous ability is something that just enables the other enemies to fight you better, since bleed and blight resist the debuffs are what every other creature uses. So it just makes it easier for them to melt you and wear you down, which is what the creature den is all about. Because it doesn't like debuffing your dot resist doesn't seem like that bad of a thing, but it even just taking one dot that you wouldn't have otherwise can make a huge difference.
especially with how strong dots are in this game. Like, if one goes through, it could be 6, 9, or more damage.
And then it also still serves as a tank by obviously having block plus as it spawns, but it still can eat corpses, and this makes it heal and get much stronger. So you still really don't want to kill anything before this, but it's also much harder than it is with the little worm because it has 2 block and more health, and it even has a death armor now.
Yeah.
Which, side note, I think its death door animation is really funny. It's just like the worm the worm goes flaccid. And it's like
It does.
it just wiggles there, and you can see its tooth clip through itself. I think it's funny. But aside from that, it's just on paper a more powerful worm. But I think what it does, like you said, it's taunt without the token, which I think is very clever, and it's just a good backbone for whatever the rest of the group is, which is usually spiders in my experience, which does kind of suck, but they're doing their best, and I'm proud of them.
It's either like the 4 worm mash, or it's them with like the spoders, like you were saying. So it
Yeah,
usually is in some kind of hellscape scenario.
of course, and they just make it last even longer. spiders are meant to wear you down, but worms are meant to wear you out by making the fight last a really long time.
Yeah. With the worms too, I can't remember. Is pulverize only usable with the crit token?
No.
No? I swear it
No.
always uses it when it has the crit.
Well, it's not misplaying. That's not its fault.
Okay. I'm just alright. I wasn't
Yeah,
sure if there's like some other condition that I couldn't
it
remember.
definitely can. I've seen it a lot, but
Okay.
yeah, crit pulverize is pretty devastating. That's for sure.
It is. And in terms of the other things, or at least that I want to talk about, that, since you covered almost all of it in one easily digestible paragraph.
Sorry.
No, it's cool.
I know. That was a joke. I'm okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
No worries. But yeah, so with the worm too, what I like is that I'm always a fan of interactive enemies. And I think one of my problems with the spiders is they're not really interactive. They just kind of do what they want the whole time. And you just hope that you can like get through it.
Yeah.
But the worms are incredibly interactive. You can, clear corpses, you can inflict, negative tokens, inversing, what they have, like their block, or you can actually remove crit with some abilities. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So there's a lot you can do to play with them. So you can either, try and kill them quickly, or you can sit there and clear corpses, blind them and stuff like that. Just slow them down as long as possible.
Because yeah, if you clear corpses, you can get around their gimmick pretty reliably, and they're not very dangerous on their own at all. So that rewards you for playing it smart and safely, which is always a good thing. So,
is it rank time?
Yeah, I think it's rank time. I think Big Worm could be A. Like, I don't.
I can actually get down with that.
I don't really have a big problems with the worm, but like it's not S because like it's just a worm. Like, don't get ahead of yourself. But I think it does a pretty good job. I like Woodsman. I like support tank type enemies that do their job in an interesting way.
Yeah,
I actually really like how, with one obvious exception, none of the enemies in this game use taunt. They all have other more interactive ways to focus your attacks. I think that's really smart. The one that had taunt,
people complain about, and it's gone.
Yeah, with the obvious exception of the Obsession Altar, but I think that's meant to be annoying, so I don't think that's changing. But I like how they could very easily just like slap taunt on an enemy and call it a tank, but they don't, and I think that's very admirable. And the worm is a good example of that.
I totally 100% agree, which is why I want you to join my change.org petition to get rid of taunt tokens. There are more interesting and fun ways to tank in this game. Instead, we just get this brain dead freaking slam taunt button every other turn.
Well, you see, they're already taunt tokens already can be removed from the game if you just don't play Flagellant.
And I was thinking about like Man-at-Arms, Hellion, Leper. It wasn't just
Man-at-Arms. Does anyone actually do you actually use Retribution still now that it doesn't give block?
Yeah,
okay.
I don't think it's bad by any means. I mean, the thing with Man-at-Arms is he can keep generating block from like 18 other sources.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
My feeling was the way to nerf Retribution would have been to get rid of the taunt. And, people say, oh, well, how are you going to trigger the riposte? It's like, it's going to trigger. You have Defender.
Just get hit.
Yeah, like you have Defender. There's 4 enemies. They have a lot of AoEs. People use riposte on Highwayman. It gets triggered.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about heroes.
Now we're talking about hero balance. This is what happens. But yeah, taunt. I don't quite know how I feel about taunt, but I do for sure like that enemies don't use it very much.
Yeah, and for Worm, I know A may seem like a strange placement. People are like, oh, it's not like incredibly memorable or whatever. It's very, very, very well designed. And
not every enemy needs to be incredibly memorable to be considered good or worthwhile.
Yeah.
Like, some of the most important enemies can just be like the Bone Rabble or the lost soul or something.
The
And
Lost Soul much more memorable.
yeah, but quote unquote fodder enemies are just as important and just as they need to be thoughtfully designed just as much as like the big flashy mini bosses and stuff.
Yeah, you can't, fight two collectors in a shambler every fight. That wouldn't be fun.
Well, isn't that what the Bastard's Beacon is?
No comment. All right, dogs.
All right. Dogs. These are
Nasher.
probably my least favorite of the Creature Den gang. It's just because they don't feel very they don't feel super unique to me. The fact that they continuously gain dodge is extremely annoying and gives Highwayman's tracking shot dodge debuff insane value. But aside from that, there isn't much to really latch onto with these guys, except, I mean, there is that fetch move, but I almost never see them actually use that because they always end up moving forward to just bite you a million times.
Yeah, because the only time they're locked into fetch is rank 4. So they're most normally going to be hitting rush. And I'm surprised Rapid Rush doesn't bleed. It feels like it should.
Yeah, I'm also very surprised at that, but I think Gander makes them bleed, but I
Oh, yeah,
wouldn't
Gander's
know
sick.
because uh well, we'll get to that, but they feel um they they're both not very interesting to fight while also not being very dangerous at all either. I feel like the most common team with them I see is 4 dogs, and like that's basically a free wave if you have any sort of block or dodge generation on your team.
It is. It's like it is the one you wipe the sweat off your head when you see, you go, oh, 4 dogs, thank goodness.
Like it's going to be kind of annoying, but it's not going to be a huge threat.
Yeah.
So,
You know, actually, finish your thought. I had a thought.
um it's not going to be a huge threat, so they just kind of feel like um I'm not going to say a waste of space cuz that's mean, but I don't know, they definitely feel like the least interesting of the bunch, which is a shame because their their elite version is really cool, but I don't particularly like the normal dogs very much. I think the pillager dog is way more interesting than these
It
guys.
is. And it's got a little hat and sword. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The thing that sticks out to me too with the creature den, like I didn't realize it until you're saying it. I was trying to think of something redeeming about the dogs. Their creature den reward thing is probably better than the spiders. The spiders have arguably the worst.
Spiders is the cure disease one.
No, that's worms.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. What's the spider one then?
It's like half off on in items.
I mean, I like that one.
It
But
it
what is it?
can do some cool stuff, but compared to like removing a
Oh,
negative quirk, healing 3 stress, 2 mastery, and curing disease.
oh, the dog one is the 2 mastery one. Yes. And Gander's is the negative quirk one,
Yeah.
which explains why I never see it. But
I know Gander's super rare.
I I have seen Gander literally one time in my entire time playing this game. It is ridiculous. But we're getting a bit ahead. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself.
We'll talk about Gander in a
So
sec.
little normal dog is honestly D for dog. He's only fun to fight when Gander is there, and Gander has only appeared once for me, so dogs have only been fun to fight a single time in my entire Darkest Dungeon 2 playtime.
I know I've gotten Gander more than once, but I can't say it's been more than like maybe 12.
Yeah,
With how much I
and
played, like he just does not show up.
Like I don't. It's not that I avoid creature dens or anything. I take them basically every time, even in Region 3. But I just never see the guy, which is a shame because, man, he seems really fun to fight. I wish I remembered what it was like.
Yeah, let's take a look.
I've looked at his
Forgot
wiki
Gander was
page
slow.
a bit. Yeah, I don't actually. One thing first, I have no idea why he's called Gander, because a gander is a male goose. I've looked this up, and as far as I can tell, the word gander has no relation to dogs at all. So I have no idea why he's called that.
There has to be some kind of relation to some other reference. Like it could be a book reference or
I
something
don't
like
know.
that.
Yeah, this is the same guy who named the Elite Skyver a obscure reference to the Killer Instinct franchise. So who knows what
Yes.
he's capable of.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll talk about that too because I came across that bit of trivia too. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, we'll get there. But Gander. I like his design. I think he's really cool and honestly a much more eye-catching reskin than most of the champion enemies get.
It almost looks
Which is
like a
actually
Tangle enemy.
yeah, he actually straight up is typed as a Tangle enemy, which is weird but kind of cool. Um, he doesn't even really feel like a champion enemy. Like he's ostensibly the champion version of dogs, but if you look at his skill set, he's pretty much an entirely original enemy. The only skill he has that's even remotely similar is Jaws of the Battalion, but even that's fairly different because it can be used anywhere and it adds block. Everything else is completely unique. But my favorite thing about him is the rip and tear because he uses that. I do remember this from my time fighting him when the update came out years ago. He uses that move immediately at the start of the fight, and it buffs all the other dogs for more crit, but it also makes them deal bleed.
Yeah, and they
Which is
don't. Is the wiki wrong?
I I have no idea, but I do remember that that buff is right. So either the dogs don't do bleed at all without him, or they just deal more.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
But
okay.
I think that's cool because at least the way it's supposed to work, and the reason that it shows the Gander using the skill instead of just having it be a passive buff is that the buff lasts for the entire battle until the Gander is killed. But when I played it, there was a weird bug where the buff would go away for everyone if any dog was killed. So that was a bit awkward, but I hope they
It
fixed
is.
that by now.
I'm sure they have.
I can't verify that because I still have never seen him.
You know what? I think I would not be surprised if the bug is still there because no one fights Gander.
Yeah,
It
that
just slipped through the cracks.
yeah. It reminds me of how Playout had the wrong sound effect for over a year because no one used that skill and reported it except me. So I thought it
You
was
fixed it.
intentional. I thought it was intentional since they never fixed it. And I'm like, wait a second. Maybe just no one's reported it. So I reported it. And I'm like, hey, I don't know if this is a bug or not, but Playout's using a different sound effect than it did at launch, and it hasn't been fixed for a year. And then they fixed it in the next update. So that was
Oh.
kind of funny.
But Red Hook doesn't listen to feedback, Sammy. What?
I guess I'll also send them feedback telling them to make Gander appear more so I can tell if this is a bug or not.
You know,
Uh,
he says classified as a Tangle enemy. It honestly should be a Tangle enemy. Does it only appear in the Tangle creature den or something?
no, it can appear in anyone.
Okay. But like the
But
battalion move and all the bleeding stuff, that's all Tangle. The armor, Tangle.
honestly, yeah, just let him be a Lost Battalion enemy. Why not?
Yeah.
That'd be kind of fun. Give him an order. Give him a drummer
No.
order. That'd be
No.
funny. Order, dog treat.
Oh my god, it's gonna have like bonus damage and accuracy and crit chance. Ah!
Yeah, that's a great idea. I should
And you talked
definitely be a
about the
game
skills
designer.
besides like rip and
Yeah,
tear.
but
But
Mournful Howl dealing 3 stress is a bit fucked, but
It is, but it doesn't have like 24 points of dot attached to it.
it does daze, which does suck, but I mean that's fine. Honestly, looking at this, its most threatening move is probably Harry, because that's straight up just Hound's Harry, and we all know how strong that is. Um,
Hound's Carry, as it's
Hound's Carry,
affectionately
yeah.
called.
So this guy, I like how he's kind of a support enemy for the dogs. I like that he's like a weird sort of backline, a hybrid tank type thing.
It's like the
He's very,
backline man at arms of the dogs.
yeah, he's very strange, but I think he's a fun concept, and he makes the dogs actually feel threatening, which is a big plus. Um,
It'd be nice to see more of
genuinely
him.
his rarity is the biggest thing holding him back.
Honestly, yeah. Like it's hard to give a I won't say like a fair and accurate reading, but it is hard to just rate it in general, knowing that we just don't see this dude enough. So it's like
Yeah.
you look at the stats. Okay, I remember these. I remember the moves being a little bit dangerous here and there, but like, was it frustrating? Did it feel like overpowered? It's hard to say.
Yeah. I think it having 2 death armor is a bit crazy considering that like some much stronger looking enemies get none, but
Look, he's got a full suit of armor. Okay.
yeah, and I guess he is like a zombie, so fair enough, I guess.
All right.
I think
Yeah,
he's
so- Hmm?
I think he'd probably be A if he wasn't as rare as he was. So I think B is good. So this can be our ransom until Red Hook. Red Hook, if you make this enemy more common for us, we will move him to A tier. You're welcome.
If the demands are not met in 2 months, he's going to F.
Yeah. Take that.
Oh man,
Oh,
really hitting
boy.
him where it hurts.
Oh shit, we're at the
We're at
yeah,
military.
we're done with creatures. I thought we'd had one more, but I guess that's it.
It's all 6 of them. But Creature
Now we're
Den,
at
as a whole, really cool faction. Creature Den, very good node.
it was a good first addition to the game when we were all like starving for new content. Now it's time for these strange fellows.
I guess the Spearman's first.
It could have fooled me. Yeah,
Yeah,
you better switch him. You better switch him. You have Sworpin first.
My bad.
There you go.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oops.
Okay.
Wait, what? It,
Sorry. I just see on special attributes I see cleave potential, and that makes me laugh because like yeah, I guess he technically does, but it literally never has happened to me ever. The way it's
It's
supposed
like a
to
rare
work,
case.
yeah, if both your front line have combo, he will hit both of them. But that never happens because like you can see even with him, the spear toss combo chance is only 1 in 3. And that's the case with all the combo abilities in this group. They're all somewhat low chance of happening, so their combo synergy is very inconsistent. But yeah, these guys are like it feels hard to talk about the military like individually because they feel so entwined with each other. Because they're always they always show up with barricades and weapon racks, and there's only 2 of them, so it's likely you'll see both the spear and swordman in the same fight. So for me at least, I almost end up thinking about them more in terms of like their mashes rather than them as individual enemies.
Is there a match that has 3 of them in like one barricade?
I think so, actually.
I think there is, but it's not common.
No. I think the military fights are a very interesting case because like you can see what they're going for with the barricade and the weapon rack and stuff, and all the combo synergy. They're trying to make certain moves and counterplay is more viable than just slamming direct damage at them all the time. But they still feel so like they sort of feel kneecapped because I think they didn't want to make them too like threatening in case your team just gets completely fucked by their like their guard or whatever and you can't kill them very fast at all. So they just only hit your front line, which is just
I
it is
vehemently disagree with that decision. By the way, like at least the spear guy should hit 3 or
oh, me
something.
too. I think it's exhausting
Yeah,
to have them just slamming into your front line over and over every round. And like it's not even super dangerous because your front line is usually going to be the healthiest and most defensive in your group. So if you have any sort of healing and defense, you'll probably be fine. The fight just takes forever. Also, why does spear toss do
do
stress?
6. I don't know. I just saw that. It's like it just does 6. So they forget a number.
They don't have a damage range, but
Just
wait,
6.
why does it does do stress? That's so weird.
I feel like they just had that they felt the need to put stress somewhere in the fight, and this was like the spot.
I guess it's just I really I do like what they were going for with Spearman. I think he could actually be really cool if they just like make spear toss able to hit everyone and make the jab combo synergy work on anyone with combos. So like if you have someone in rank 4 with combo and he hits like one of your front line, it'll hit your combo guy in the back too. I think that would make him more dangerous and more interesting to fight.
That would be interesting, but also I'm just trying to think of how that would look in the 3D landscape.
Yeah,
It clips off Man at Arms and lands in Plague Doctor.
I always imagined like jab as them the cleave chances them stabbing someone through someone
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's these guys are funky. That's like the nicest way I can describe the military. They're funky.
Well, as we get further in here, I'm gonna just get this out of the way. I really dislike this faction outside of Warlord.
Yeah.
And so my initial reaction is to just put Spearman in like D.
Yeah, I honestly won't argue with you there, just because I think it could be better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it gets better with the Swordsman.
No, not really. Though, let's see. Oh no, the wiki is current. That's very appreciated. I thought it would still say Gash move them forward.
Oh no. They're decently fast too. Spearman's 4 and this guy's 5.
Wait, Swordman has Spearman's picture on the wiki. That's funny.
Actually, it's the wiki team.
I don't blame the wiki team. They're so similar looking. I do think it was genuinely a smart idea to reuse those models from the shrine fights because like they're
Oh yeah, they're just going to
already
waste.
they're already there and you're only going to see them a couple times in the shrine fights. So why the hell not? It's a good use of assets, especially in this game where making new assets is a huge part of the huge bulk of the development process. So
Yeah, I don't know if you watched. I'm assuming you did when you watched the interview that I had with them.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah, the animation and stuff to make something. I think it takes like a month to like make the model, paint it, and then animate it. It's
Honestly,
a long process.
that just honestly kind of boggles the mind that the early access launch had so much in it compared to how long we now know it takes for them to make stuff.
I honestly think like this is not confirmed anywhere. I think that they started working on DD2 in like 2018.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. And I also get the feeling they were crunching a lot as the release date came up. So I'm glad they're doing stuff like this that are more resource efficient.
Yeah, definitely.
That being said, for Swordman himself, I Also, I just think it's so weird that he's called Swordman, not Swordsman. I did check; that's not a wiki thing. He is called Swordman in game.
The freaking Mega Man boss.
Yeah.
It's weird too.
Um,
I mean, we're saying it's weird in a game that calls Highwayman Sharpshot instead of Sharpshooter.
that one feels more. Uh, that actually is a good point. That one feels more charming to me. Swordman just sounds weird.
It's Spearman, right? Not Spearsman.
That would be really funny. Have him be Swordman and then Spearsman. Anyways, for this guy himself, because I'm stalling. I think it's kind of funny that he straight up just has open vein, like
He
with the exception of
does,
the slightly increased damage on combo, which
and he can
is
use it out of
weird.
4.
Which is weird, but aside from that and the slight targeting difference, this is exactly the same as Open Vein Plus, which I think is honestly it's a fair move for him to have if they're trying to focus on combo synergy, but man, Rainy was right. A lot of enemies bleed you in this game.
It is by far the most common dot type.
Yeah. I don't even think that's like I don't even think Red Hook meant for it to be that way. They just keep coming up with enemy designs where bleed is the only dot that makes even a lick of sense for them to use.
What are you talking about? He can stab you and you get burned.
Fair point.
No.
I guess resentment ordainment exists, so
Oh, that's right, with
How far-
ordainment too. Like
how
these
far does the
dots
logic
go
even
up.
go? Oh my god, yeah. So a +1. So that could be a 7-point bleed.
Yeah, 4 to 7. Man.
It's a bit fucked up, not gonna lie. Even Kyrogen doesn't do that much.
Yeah, just looking at Swordman, like Spear Guy kind of feels appropriate in terms of like the moveset. Just looking at this, Swordman just all over the place. Why can you use Gash from 4?
Because Clamor has a cooldown, I guess, and they
I
don't
know,
want
but
him
it
to
should be
pass.
like Clamor moves him forward 1 or something like that.
Actually, you know, this is only, um, giving more evidence that these enemies are a bit confused. But I actually do have a reason for that. They somewhat recently changed how barricades work, where their guard goes away
Ah.
if one of the soldiers gets moved or moves, like in general, they lose their guard. So that's when they took away Gash, moving them forward. So they don't want them to move themselves because then they just get rid of their own guard and it would be weird. But
It
this is
would be,
also kind of weird.
but I have another side of this, and what I want to say is in a fight where these dudes are like permanently guarded and it's very difficult to move anything, if you can get this guy to rank 4, he's just skip his turn.
Yeah, honestly, that's skip his turn or
Like
like
Clamor and then skip.
Clamor and then skip or Clamor and then I don't know, give himself 1 block token or something. I don't
Something.
know.
Just give him some weak ass move that he
Yeah.
can do back there. Like, I think they changed it very recently, but Shaman used to pass its turn after it ignited
Yeah,
in rank 4.
that was so funny.
So it's like it's okay to, if you get a melee unit to the back, I think the player should be rewarded for it in most
If
cases.
you get him to the back, he should just retreat and leave the fight.
Yes.
Because, like, I don't know, that's like halfway a joke, but these enemies feel the most
Human?
human and sane out of all of them. So, like, out of anyone retreating, I could see it being these guys.
Yeah, like they should have some kind of morale thing. Like if they're if guarded, maybe they get a boost in rank 1, they get a boost in rank 3, they're permanently weakened, rank 4 they run, something like that.
Yeah, that would be, I don't know, just weird stuff like that. It could be
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
That being said, speaking of weird stuff, what is going on with Clamor? Like, what is that? How does that even work? He just yells at you, that somehow removes all your block, and I guess the stress is fair because it's like a war cry or whatever, but this move
And then
makes
you
no
can't
sense
block.
to me.
You forget how to use your shield.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in a world where Man-at-Arms screaming at someone makes them scared enough to stop counterattacking you. I guess this is somewhat in line with that, but it still feels weird,
It
especially
is.
with how long of a cooldown it is. Like it's not that strong.
I know. Usually the cooldown should be on the dangerous move that you don't want to
Cooldown
keep
should be on
seeing.
dash.
Yeah. Instead,
Man,
instead it's like, all right, I'm gonna yell in a couple turns. Be ready.
yeah, just get ready. I'm doing my warm ups. Uh, I think there's a lot of ways that could be go about improving these guys. Because, like I said, I do get the idea behind them. I think like they could either get their ideally it would be a combination of these things, but they could get like their interactions with the barricade uh tuned up a little more, or they could get like an extra move that they can do and like break up the gash, jab that the fights always turn into, um, or just like I don't know. I think I was gonna say like giving them different mashes would or putting them in more putting them with other factions could be interesting. But these guys are so tailored to the barricade and weapon rack the barricade and weapon rack being part of their mashes that putting them anywhere else would just feel weird and out of place. But they already feel kind of weird and out of place. So
With how common they are, at least to me, like they they do make sense. I think they're kind of a way to get the player to look up the DLC or something like that.
yeah,
But
that's a good point, actually.
because
Having
Raid
these
kind of counters
guys,
these.
having these guys without Warlord, like in your game, that must feel so bad.
Yeah, it's FOMO. You're like, oh, I don't get the boss.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I'm not. It's inarguably a good thing that they didn't paywall more content, but it's
Oh
still
yeah,
kind
I
of
agree. I'm
funny.
just
It's
taking the
still kind
piss
of
out of it.
funny. So I don't know. These they're kind of an improvement over Spearman in other ways. That in a couple ways that they at least can do something unique with Clamor, but it's not really that interesting. So I think they should still go in D.
Maybe D. I almost want to put these in F. I hate these so much just because of
Here's the you can put one out of these four enemies in F. Which one do you hate the most?
the next one.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
All right, talk about this crap.
That's our deal. We can put. Oh my god, it doesn't even have skills. That's so funny. I
It
mean,
just
yeah,
sits there.
it doesn't obviously, but I'm used to looking at the table of skills, and then there's just nothing. Um, well, there is. Like I said, I really can. I get the idea they're going for with these things with the very deliberate like it's immune to everything but burn. It takes less damage from ranged attacks, but it bleeds you if you melee it. Like there's nuggets of a good idea in there, like the risk reward of dealing more damage to it by meleeing it at the risk of bleeding yourself, or playing it safe and shooting it or throwing a dagger at it, or bringing Runaway and feeling good about yourself because this is the one fight where she really shines. Um, but it just feels a little half baked, and more than that, the guard just makes the fights last so long.
Yeah, because against some teams, doing half damage or whatever and being dot immune, it takes a long time to kill these. And as I'm looking at the picture, it's got like a little eye slit for, archers and stuff, but there's no archers in the military. They're just melee dudes. Who is this for, man?
It's for the spearman to stick their little spear through
And
and
just
just
jab you.
poke you in the eye.
Yeah, the guard's understandable. It does slow down the fight. But I hate the attacker on hit thing so much. Like, the combo, I guess, isn't terrible, but guaranteed to bleed on melee to hit this, there's no way.
Fire
Like,
version does only one, and he's a mini boss.
yeah. And freaking this
Just
thing,
saying.
Um, since you're comboing yourself and taking all that bleed by hitting the damn thing, and the military destroys your front line, you're continuously comboing yourself, and you get up to like 9 bleed, in like 2 turns with no effort.
Yeah, it would be one thing if it dragged the fight out, like because the soldiers were particularly frail or weak, but they're really not.
They get like elite and ordained or something like that. They get up to like 40 HP.
Yeah, they are by no means frail. And honestly, I just think it comes down to the fact that the two soldiers just keep having to hit your front line. That's what makes this feel so bad, because it lasts so long and nothing's changing. It's just the same stuff that happens on turn 1 that happens on turn 8.
Yeah, and it's a long fight, and it drains a hefty amount of resources sometimes, and it does give you like extra combat items, so I guess that's cool, but just there can be 2 barricades in a fight.
Yeah.
Like, that's the other thing. It really just comes down to the bleed, the amount of it, and the frequency. I would rather this be like 1 bleed 33% of the time or something. I don't think it should be that punishing.
Yeah.
Because also, since it takes half damage from range attacks usually do less damage anyway, outside of like pistol shot.
Right.
So it's like you're already taking a weak move and just chipping it down to like 2 damage.
I mean, that being said, like, again, I do see the nuggets of what they were going for in here. Like, it makes frontline cleaves, which not a lot of people use. It makes those super good. Like, Hugh Pirouette destroys these guys. Dragonfly is like the best move you could possibly have for this fight.
Yeah.
And I think the recent change to make the soldiers lose their guard when moving is a good step forward, but you also can't really move them if they're guarded.
Yeah, so it's only 2 guard tokens. It's very hard to get to that.
It's only really going to happen if you already kill a barricade and cause everyone to get moved up because of that.
Yeah.
So it's a nice idea, but I can't really get it to work very often.
Yeah, the ideas are there. It's just the numbers and the execution is where like it falls short.
I think it could be kind of funny if like they put they put like the barricades in put these in the tangle fights too.
Oh. I mean, they'd make sense there.
Like, but just put them in there, have them overgrown by the tangle growth, make them stronger, do whatever, but make them die instantly if they take any burn damage.
That's pretty cool.
Wood covered in plants.
Yeah,
I don't know. Just like they could do. I think the design philosophy they're doing with these could be interesting, but the soldiers are not interesting enough to carry it.
Yeah, there's, as much as we praise Red Hook and stuff, at least this is my opinion. I'm not speaking for you, but there are a few instances like the barricade where there is potential to do some cool stuff, but either they just don't, or sometimes they can't. Like there are technological limitations sometimes.
Yeah.
But it would be nice, if burn, like, guaranteed, if you hit this thing with burn, it did like half its life next turn. Or killed it, Just something different and fun. It's like, oh, I kept this incendiary grenade. Now I get to, throw it at this thing. Or, oh man, Runaway's gonna pop off because barricades.
Yeah, it's between like this sort of thing and some things they tried to do in like, I don't know, the Shield Breaker or Color of Madness DLC in the first game. I sometimes get the feeling that they want to do more than what their game is functionally capable of.
Yeah.
Which is a completely sympathetic problem to have, but in that case, something needs to change, either the idea or the game.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like if it's something you can't do at that moment the way you want to, then just don't. Like don't throw out
Yeah.
this half-baked type of stuff.
I mean, you can if the game is in early access.
Yeah, that's the other thing. We're not there anymore.
Like, yeah, I do. I also just respect that they wanted to make adding Warlord more interesting than just adding one guy. So
Oh yeah,
I think a
100%.
lot of their I think Warlord got the bulk of their uh, design and resources, and that's fine. But
Just you only
I
see him
think
once, and it's very rare.
I think I really hope they find a way to make the military fights cool and interesting like they were the first day we found them.
Yeah, that was fun.
But
That was just genuine discovery.
yeah, I like how they didn't say what they were. They didn't even really say that they were completely new enemies. They just said we've added new road fights to the game. And I'm like, what does that even
Oh,
mean?
new mashes? No, new faction.
And then you roll up and you see this huge wall in the middle of the road, and you're like, what is that? And then you see that they just added a bunch of completely new enemies, which,
Yeah.
well, completely new in regards to their design, not model. But it was a cool day, and I think they could make these good and cool if they really dedicated a lot of time to that. But we'll see if that's time they have to spend on this.
Yeah, there's like even without, inside knowledge or whatever, there's a lot that they are probably working on that they just don't tell anyone until it's like 2 weeks out or something like that.
Yeah,
So,
I can only
they're
imagine they're
always
working.
doing something. It's
They're
not just them sitting on their hands.
Yeah, I can only imagine like their art team is working on new assets while their design team is working on designing stuff for the finished assets, and Chris is doing whatever he wants, and I can only imagine they're all doing different things at this point.
Well, Chris is either like at the grindstone, I was talking to someone in the studio and they called him a machine with
Yeah,
like how him and Tyler, like just how efficient they are and stuff. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And then Chris will tweet that he's at a lake.
yeah,
So it could be either.
yeah. We just have to wait and see. Um, but I don't think I somehow get the feeling this isn't particularly high on their priorities.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't want to like look down my nose at any content they add. It's always nice to get something. It's just since, we're passionate about it, you can see the flaws as well as the stuff you like.
Yeah. I can be a hater sometimes. You can put this in F.
Yes.
I'll let you do that.
Yes.
Oh shit, we still have weapon rec. I forgot about that.
Everyone forgot
But
about it.
yeah, I feel like it's a lot less common than the
It does
barricade
two bleed
anyways.
too, man. What the?
Yeah, that's my least favorite.
No.
That's my biggest problem with this thing. I don't think it should do the exact same thing as the barricade does.
So does this mean if I put like, a spike on Man at Arms shield, does he do two bleed when they hit him?
Uh, yeah, I guess he's just never thought of that.
Apparently.
Um,
I think one of his maces has spikes. Why doesn't that do bleed? Okay, I'm just being.
well, it give him that one study trinket that makes him do every dot at once at 5
Oh,
stress.
like corrupted bile gland or whatever.
Yeah, that one.
Unless you meant Shambler's eyes,
Oh,
or
just,
what is
just put
what is
both
that
of
one?
those
The
at
Wheel of
once.
Eyes. What's that called?
Eyes of the Void.
Yes.
Just put both of those on at once. I'm sure it'll be fine. Anyways, this one's kind of weird because it gives strength and block, obviously.
So the
But
party does this give block to the barricade?
no, it doesn't.
Oh,
That would
thank
be really
goodness.
funny, but it doesn't. Barricades can't get any tokens at all, as far as I'm aware.
Can they get
But
control burn? Probably not.
yes, they
Yes.
actually
Okay.
can. They can't get like positive, negative tokens.
Oh yeah, because they're immune and control burns special.
Yeah. Um, but this one's kind of weird because like it gives the strength and block to the soldiers, but the soldiers don't feel designed with that in mind because weapon rack doesn't appear in every match they have, so they can't be like worthless without the strength or block. But at the same time, when it does appear, uh, they feel it makes them feel a little too strong because they do respectable damage and they have a great deal of health without it. So when this is added to that, it feels a little bit much.
It comes back to what you said before, where the soldiers aren't frail by any means, you know?
Yeah.
And so between guard and block and you having to take turns healing off the bleed and stuff like that, these fights go for a while. And I think, at least for me, that's definitely an issue I have with them.
Yeah. Because no, there's not a whole lot to say about this one that we haven't said with the barricade. I think I just
It's slightly better barricade.
it's yeah, it at least it doesn't at least it's only one block token instead of two guards.
Yeah.
Because two guards nullifies two hits, while one block just weakens one.
Does it
Um,
have the range reduction? It does, okay. I didn't say it at first, it's all the way down
oh
there.
yeah, it's weird. I feel like I don't know. I wouldn't be opposed to it doing something on hit, just not the same as the barricade.
Yeah,
I
not
feel
like
like
that
it giving
much.
combo is fine if that's what the military wants to be designed around, but the bleed is just a bit much. Like
Yeah.
what, you cut your hand on the sword?
Yeah, you try and break it, and the sword like flips up and cuts you. Some like Final Destination stuff.
At least it doesn't have as much health as the barrel of bombs.
True. Shoutouts to
It could
Wolf.
always be worse. With that said, this is an easy D.
Yeah, definitely. Like slightly better barricade means not a.
Yeah. Not, yeah. That said,
Why isn't
Warlord's
Warlord?
a
Why
mini
has he got his
boss.
own section? What a Chad, dude.
This is he counts as a mini boss, so he gets that section down there.
For all the
Yeah,
trash talking that just happened with the military, this is like the saving grace.
this guy is sick as hell.
Yes.
He is so cool. I think he is like straight up the most badass character Red Hook has designed since like Leper. Uh, his design is really, really cool and intimidating, and I don't know. It's cool to see like after like they brought Collector back and Shambler back, and then Death is kind of her own thing. It's cool to see that they can make a really cool and imposing character design that isn't from their old games.
It is, and I'm looking at them because I know in terms of the design, their ideas that the helmet is similar to the Bone Bearer in the first game. Obviously, they're not undead
Yeah,
necro people, but
I mean that we know of. We never seen their faces.
true. The other thing though that's interesting with the Warlord is, you kind of get Wolf flashbacks because he's got the fur collar on
Yeah,
the jacket, so he's
I
his
think
own
he's
guy, but like
actually
there's some overlap with like iconic designs too.
honestly, I think he's sort of a spiritual successor to Wolf. Honestly,
It
with
feels that way.
his two goons, the fact that he guards and sets up his goons, and the wiki doesn't list this, but apparently he has a unique buff where he'll guard whoever's behind him at the start of the round.
Oh yeah, I think that's to like this is where Red Hook does some cool stuff is to make some of their abilities thematic to like the items they drop, and that's like
Yeah,
something he can drop. So
yeah,
it's
I love that.
yeah,
They
so
should
it's safe to
they
assume it's
should do
something
more of
he can
that.
also
That's
do.
so cool. Um, except the difference between Warlord and Wolf is that he's not actively throwing by guarding his allies.
It is actively throwing, but someone mentioned that it's so in case you don't know the fight and you bring a bad party, you still have a chance.
But I mean, okay, this is a bit of a tangent, but this has been bothering me for years. Wolf has no prot. Wolf's allies have prot. Wolf guarding his allies means that they straight across his team, he straight up takes more damage than he would if he did not guard at all. Warlord at least can give himself block. So his guard technically can get value if someone tries to swing at his goons and instead hits into his block. That is not actively making the fight worse for him.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean,
Sorry,
it's just
I've been sitting on that for a long time. Wolf is a complete idiot.
yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, if anything, I think it just shows the design evolution. You know, things get more cohesive and more thought out. So now we have the next step of Wolf, where
Yeah,
he's not a dumbass, and I'm really surprised at the restraint that all these moves only have 5 crit. They hit
honestly,
pretty
yeah.
hard.
And also, Rainey mentioned this. Rainey, of course, points out that only one of his moves do bleed, which is shocking. It feels like
Yes.
they would make them all do bleed. Because that's a
How many of these are
huge
axe swings? That's the question, because the axe has all the blood.
Sikare is axe swing, and so is Ferox Impetus.
But
So he has
not
3
the one
axe
with
swings.
bleed.
Yeah, he has 3 axe swings, but only one does bleed. Oh no, Presido, Presido. I don't know. I don't speak Latin.
I was gonna say brush up on your Latin.
That's also an axe swing. So he has 3 of them, but only one does bleed, which is pretty notable restraint on their part.
Yeah, and this is actually, I'm just looking at it, it's pretty interesting too. Like, the one that does bleed just naturally hits softer, and he can only be up front for it. So,
Yeah.
like, Sakari is meant to, like, get from the back to the front. This is just like a, a threatening dot move, and then if there's a bunch of combo, then Ferox goes off.
Warlord feels like almost too fair compared to a lot of other fights in this game. Like, not to say that those other fights are necessarily bad. He just feels there's so many things about him that feels so considered and restrained, like how he only stuns on combo, how he Paro only gives him block for every target hit. So if he misses everyone with it, he gets no block. And stuff like how his big cleave attack just does damage. It doesn't do stress. It doesn't do bleed. It doesn't have a million crit. It doesn't shuffle you. It just does big damage to your team.
I think Ferox probably could use some stress, like 1 stress. Just give him 1 stress.
I think actually my hot take is that Paro should be the stress one, because this guy takes a human skull off of his belt, crushes it with his bare hands, and then looks directly at your party and points at them. I think that deserves some stress.
True. I agree.
But that being said, the fact that he doesn't do stress at all is also shocking.
It's a bit strange. Like,
I'm not even necessarily against it. It's kind of cool to have a boss that just focuses on direct damage, but it's wild that they didn't give their huge mini boss any stress at all. That's so unlike
coming in the next
Red Hook.
patch now.
That's so unlike Red Hook.
Yeah, and I think what I was hearing when you're talking about, that he's restrained and this, and he like stuns off combo and stuff. What I really, really want to say is he's well designed. That's why it feels so restrained. He's like, there's a lot of effort and consideration put into like everything he does alongside his goons. His goons are imbalanced, and then you get this absolute gentleman of a mini boss.
He makes his goons feel fun to play against.
Yeah.
There's such a thoughtful and fun rhythm this fight has, that like he starts in the front and he'll use Paro. He'll probably because he has 2 turns, he'll use Paro, and he'll probably either use his bleed cleave that I'm not going to try and pronounce anymore, or he'll use Colossus to move back, and then once he's back there, he'll use Cohortor to buff his allies because that's the only thing he can do back there, except Sekare, which he'll use next turn to move back and start the process over again. And it's all building up to a point where two of your team has combo, in which case he'll whack you all and start it over again. And it's just a really well thought out and engaging rhythm that it has.
It is.
They made it like it's like he has phases without like actually changing.
Yes. Yeah.
If you get what I mean. It's like
I do. I'm trying to think of another example to it. Because there are DD1 spoilers. So if you're not trying to get spoiled, then skip ahead like 10 seconds or 30 seconds. I don't know. It reminds me slightly of the Countess because she had phases. And so you always knew what was coming, or for the most part, you could guess what's coming.
Yeah.
In like it'd be like a couple moves, then the next phase, a couple moves, next phase, couple moves, and then it starts over. And he kind of does the same thing.
Yeah, except it's slightly less telegraphed since he doesn't have moves that directly announce what he's going to do next. It just depends on where he is. And that's another thing I like. I like that this is a big hulking tank boss that also has some movement involved in the fight, which is always cool to see because that's like the main thing that sets DD's combat system apart. I will say the one thing that can sometimes make this weird is that Warlord can spawn with a barricade or weapon rack.
Can he?
Yeah, he can. Which makes things a little weird, especially since, as I'm told, he can apparently move past immobilized barricades.
Just that much of a boss.
And fit behind them, which, you know, that goes against literally everything we've ever been taught about immobilized in this game, but I guess it's so the fight doesn't completely break.
Here I am sitting here like, yeah, this boss is so greatly designed, meanwhile breaks established rules that have been in the game for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just Red Hook jank.
Maybe it is just Red Hook jank. I have no idea. I haven't actually seen it personally. I haven't even I don't think I fought Warlord aside from the end of the Lost Crusade quest because for a while he was just super rare. And then they buffed his chance to appear, but around that time I found out that is actually outdated. They increased it recently, I think.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I don't think it's 1% in Region 1 anymore, at least. But when they buffed his chance to appear, that was when I found out that my Crusader unlocks, and only my Crusader unlocks, not any of the rest of my save progress had gotten reset for some reason. So I'm still in the process of unlocking all his skills again. And in case anyone didn't know, you can only find Warlord if you've completed all of the Crusader shrines. So I just, for a while, I was unlucky and Warlord didn't show up, and now I have to work for it until I can even get him to show up now. So I am not super familiar with him, and I haven't even seen a team where he shows up with a barricade.
I feel like you just shouldn't. It's not because the barricades are good, bad, whatever. It's just because half his moves don't work with... I shouldn't say half, but he just... It seems natural that he has the soldiers, because everything makes more sense.
Him having it seems to me that like him having barricade or weapon rack there just ruins his action economy.
It does, yeah.
Because at least the weapon rack, yeah, that I can see the case for weapon rack. Weapon rack can make him pretty threatening with that strength token. Like if he gets that when he's about to cleave you, that would be pretty scary. But the barricade, considering he already guards his allies, I don't see a reason for the barricade to be there.
That too. I mean, wouldn't I guess theoretically, wouldn't his because if you guard a guarded target, it breaks the first guard. So like, can he break the barricades guard on him? Actually, he moves, so it'd break anyway.
Yeah. God, I have no idea. I need to see this for myself to like
Yeah, that is strange.
science it out.
I would say too, outside of like all the great things about him, I think this is one of the few cases where I wish he lived a bit longer. Like his resists are insane, so he kind of survives for a while, but like 77 HP is a bit you know, lower than I expect. I guess because he makes block. Maybe if you made
Yeah.
2 block, something like that. He's got 3 death armor. It just feels like he goes down
gets
too
one.
fast.
He gets 1 block plus for each target he hits with Paro, so he can get
Okay, up
he
to
can
3.
get 3 usually. So that is a big help for sure.
Yeah.
However, I do think and him having 3 death armor is pretty relevant. It really does make him feel like a huge tank. However, I do think it's pretty funny that he has only 2 more HP than Kyrogen, this tall, skinny, emaciated freak.
Look, he juices, okay? That's why Kyrogen's so tough.
Yeah, yeah, the 3 death armor does genuinely make a big difference to how tough he feels. That being said, I think a lot of the general consensus I've seen from people is that he's very easy, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I think he's I think people are saying that for 2 reasons. One, there was a large period of time where he was bugged and could not be ordained ever, and that only recently got fixed.
Yeah.
And 2, Alchemist destroys him. Alchemist just completely melts this guy even harder than it does with other fights.
Alchemists do be melting stuff.
Because his blade resist is decently high, but Alchemist gets to just
Goes right through it.
go right through it and just stacks a million blight that he can do nothing about. He can't cure it. He can't heal himself. He just has to suffer and die in like 5 turns with Noxious Blast.
All right, let's get a combat medic in there for the military.
Honestly, that would be cool. They should do that.
I want to talk about the trinkets and stuff from him too. Because all this is pretty cool. Like, it's not only is it just a fun fight, it gives you good stuff on top of that.
Yeah. When I fought him for the first time, first and only time in the Lost Crusade, and I beat him and I got the Tropeum, I thought I had to do like a double take because the idea of a reusable combat item had just never occurred to me before. So it's really cool that they're experimenting with stuff like that. Like, it's just a free combo token every 5 rounds. That's a really unique and valuable reward.
It is. It's super good. And yeah, I'm surprised that reusable combat items didn't show up sooner. At the same time, I hope they keep it to stuff like this, like mini boss loot, stuff that's really important and rare.
I've seen a lot of people, not me, say that they want the bone saw to become reusable.
I've seen that, yeah, and
which that makes sense, I suppose. It should probably do a lot less damage if that's the case. But,
yeah,
it would kind of undermine part of my idea behind its bonus with Skullcap, because Skullcap makes you do bonus bleed on crit if you have the bone saw. So the idea is to keep the bone saw around and not spend it if you want that bleed synergy. But now, if it was reusable, it wouldn't have that risk reward idea anymore. But that's a bit off track. Warlord's trinkets. Warlord's trinkets are actually really cool. They're not like I wouldn't say any one of them is like super powerful, but they're all pretty fun and interesting. Especially Galia. I feel like you could do a lot of funny stuff with that. Since before this update, like, only Man-at-Arms and Bounty Hunter and Vestal could guard on your hero side, period. There was no other way to get guard on anyone else. So, like, you could do weird stuff by, like, have Highwayman guard someone and have his riposte up, or have Flagellant guard someone to get more ticks out of more. It's fun. There's a lot of neat stuff you can do with that.
Yeah, And if they happen to keep their guard, successfully, it's not a downside. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, you get some compass level buffs.
Yeah, that's damn strength or crit or speed. That's like the three best ones. No block or dodge or any of that.
Yeah, it's super good.
I think Cestus is cool, if only because move res piercing sources in this game are very
Yes.
limited.
Yeah.
The days on crit can lead to some funny double days stuns if you have
Like
if you're
Dead
using this
Ringer?
like with Rampart or something.
Yeah.
Which is funny. And the cleaver I think is probably his weakest one just because it won't apply to whoever is actually holding it, but it's still a really fun idea, and I like how it's position dependent. Like whoever's behind them gets the strength, and whoever's ahead of them gets the block. Like that's fun to plan around.
It's very thematic too, since he's a mobile boss, so it's like,
yeah.
if you can position your team correctly, you can get some nice benefit.
And I honestly genuinely love the trend they're doing with making trinket drops part of a boss's design. Like that's so fun and cool.
Yeah. And then you get a unique quirk. Vanquisher is
that's
surprisingly cool. You're not going to see it too often because most people don't, get them or like get this fight, but you get the killing blow. You get this cool quirk that you may keep for a while.
Would you lock it?
Before we were able to unlock quirks, I would say no.
Yeah, that's fair.
But now, maybe, depends. I mean, it's just because it's always like Defiant is probably just better, and then Jinx exists. So when those two get reined in, then maybe this is lockable.
I think it might be. I think it might be a little better if like the heal, like instead of healing 5, it was like 2/3 regen. That might be.
Oh yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Yeah.
But yeah, Warlord is fun and cool. He looks awesome, and his rewards are genuinely really fun and cool. Literally, the only negative thing I have to say about him is that he might be too easy in the current game environment, but I think upcoming hero reworks and stuff will help that, especially when Alchemist gets taken out back with the shotgun, like I've been praying for years.
Oh yeah, man, people are gonna revolt.
Oh, I can't wait. But literally the only thing that's stopping me from saying he's an easy S is the weirdness of barricade and weapon rack in his fight. If it wasn't for that, I'd say he's an easy S. So I'm gonna ask what you think here.
I was between S and A, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, I could do A.
He's considering how rare those mashes seem. I think he can stay in S for now. I admire him way too much, and the design of him as a unit.
He is a unit.
As a unit, regardless of everything, regardless of his teammates, he himself is designed so well that I'd feel bad if I kept him out of S.
Yeah, that's fine. Now we got technically 3 more mini bosses, even though there's 6 things on the board.
Yeah. 7 actually. You can't count.
Like credibility
in shambles.
Shamblers later.
The DD math nerds are gonna get you.
They always come for me. It's okay. Let them.
All right. Death time.
Death unique flagellant only boss encounter.
Like I gotta say, first of all, aesthetically, the idea of a mini boss that only shows up if you have a certain character is a really cool idea, and just straight up, I don't feel like it would work nearly as well in like a DD1 style game where you have a huge roster of people. If you pick Flagellant, you're stuck with him for the whole run, and you have the possibility of this thing showing up for the whole run. And I think that's a really neat use of the new formula for this game, and I've never really seen that done in any other roguelike before. So that's really cool. And her design is also awesome. I think it's really cool that they straight up made Death a girl boss in this game. That's very fun. And yeah, I think as far as the fight goes, it's a little strange to me because it doesn't feel like there's a central gimmick to it. It's just kind of a slugfest in my
Hmm.
experience.
Um. Well, the gimmick is that she shows up to kill Flag, but actually kills someone else instead.
Yeah. Like there's she has unique stuff about her, like the flagellant specific ability, which is a really fun touch. I like that a lot. And like her stacking buff against bleeding targets and stuff, but she doesn't really have any specific element that feels like a through line throughout her entire fight to me. It just feels like it's a bunch of stuff that adds up to something pretty dangerous, but it doesn't feel super cohesive to me.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. It pretty much just is a slugfest in the end, and then of course they brought back Trample from Farmstead because everyone really
Everyone
wanted that
loved
move to
that
come
one.
back.
At least this one is on a boss and not a regular enemy.
Yeah, that appears in doubles.
Oh god. And at least this one can't stealth. At least she can't stealth.
Why can a horse stealth, dude? I'm
Why
still
can
pissed.
a horse stealth? You have a point there. Um, let's see. There was something I was meaning to mention about death that I think is kind of weird.
That she should have higher
What
blight
was it?
res.
No, that makes sense. She's supposed to be weak against flagellant. That's
Yeah.
like the whole reason she loses to him in his shrine fight. I could respect that. I think the weird thing to me is that oh, right, it's Soul Reaver. If target combo transfers all dots, that is so strange for this character to have. None of her moves feel particularly dot. Nothing about her feels particularly dot focused. Like, of course she bleeds you, but like, it just feels weird to give her this extremely powerful ability that can just completely deny you if you're dot focused on her. I guess
It puts
it's
the dots on the person, right? Like from her to them.
yes, yes, which is very scary, and like it's cool. It's a cool idea. It's very threatening, but I just don't get why they gave it to her specifically.
I think it's just a screw Flag.
Yeah,
Because
I
you can
guess
just
that's
stack up a
fair.
ton of blight and she can throw it on someone.
Yeah. Um, the other weird thing is that she can only use trample after using waning crescent. It's not just she has to be in the back.
Yeah,
So
it should be back only.
you can't even turn it off by moving her. You just have she'll use waning crescent and then she can just use trample afterwards if she feels like it. She won't always use trample. She just can. Uh,
Yeah, and that's kind of
wait,
unfortunate
similar to
because it'd be
wait,
nice
the notes
to.
at
Hmm?
sorry, I just noticed the notes at the bottom. Trample hits less targets the closer it is to rank 1.
Oh yeah, so it's like boom.
Huh. I didn't know that. I guess there is counterplay then. That's admittedly kind of cool, but it's not gonna happen very often
Yeah,
because theoretically, since she has 2 turns per round, she can just use waning crescent and then just trample you immediately after.
yeah, and even though she has kind of low move res, she can do anything pretty much from anywhere. So it's like,
Moving her isn't super valuable unless you really want your leopard to be able to hit her right now.
yeah. And then there's 2 immovable gravestones with her, so it's like you can only move her
Yeah,
and
not
not the
only
other
there
stuff.
are they immovable, they're also untargetable. So like again, if you have a leper who's in the front and she's in the back and you didn't think to bring intimidate, you can't hit the gravestones to waste your turn. So there are potential situations where you would literally just have to pass because you can't hit them,
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
which is which is just salt in the wound. Honestly, if you're in that situation where you have to waste a turn and now you have to pass, and it just feels bad, and you're stressed, and she already does a lot of stress. Like, damn, she does a lot of stress. Damn, I never really noticed, but she does 2 horror, 1 stress on Soul Reaver with a chance of 2. Trample stresses everyone. She has only 1 move that doesn't do stress, and it's her move that enables trample. So
Yeah, I think one of those design things. I can kind of see the idea with it. Not sure if I agree with the execution, but like you were saying, Soul Reaver throws dots on people. He has low blight res for flag, and then all the stress might trigger toxic, so she can soak up more and then throw it back. But like, will she
yeah,
even get to that point?
yeah. Um, I will say I think uh, I like the amount of HP she has. I think that's a very I feel like it would have been easy to give her a lot more since, like, oh, she's death. It would be hard to kill her, but giving her more death armor accomplishes that in a more fun way, in my opinion.
Yeah,
And I think for as uh, swingy as this fight can be, I think there's something to be said for uh, it's always going to be a memorable moment in your run. Like when she shows up completely unannounced and you have to deal with it or die, it's going to be a highlight of your run with Flagellant. And I think
yeah,
that
it's
is what
hard
she's
stopping.
that's what she's meant to do, and she succeeds at that pretty well. It's I've definitely had more than a few really close calls that I still remember to this day. And if a boss can do that, have you come really close to death and uh, come out of it on top and feel really good about it, I think eliciting that feeling from the player is a sign that they're doing something right.
It is. With
Um,
actually, no, I don't know if I have anything else right now. I do want to talk about interlude at some point.
oh yeah, I forgot about that. Um, I like these. I know a lot of people don't, but I think they're pretty cool. Especially the on leaving death's door full heal. That one's really good.
Yes.
So is the dot cure one. That one's gonna save you so much. But they're all good except for maybe the last one.
Yeah, the
Block
last
is
one's
not
a
going.
bit strange because when
Block is
you're
not gonna help you on death's door.
yeah, it has to be something that goes from like 2 damage to 0 because that won't trigger Death Store. But
I
uh,
guess if you're really worried about Widow death blowing you, there you go.
I know I often find myself at Death Store facing Widow, but the
I
strength
think the
too because you only get 1 strength, and when you hit Death Store you get 2, so it's like
too weak. Yeah.
yeah, 2 weak. Yeah.
That's a good point, actually. I feel like all of these should remove the Death Door debuffs. That would be kind of fun.
Yeah, that you know what? I would take that over some of these effects, or you could like lower the impact of some of them if
Yeah,
you ignored Death Store, because that would be much nicer. Except for the dot one, that's very
yeah,
powerful.
that one is so good. Uh,
I think the reason
that's
people don't like these is just because they feel kind of low impact. Because like ideally, you're not trying to be on Death
yeah,
Store. Like that,
that
it
that
shouldn't
yeah,
happen.
that's that's fair. But like, I don't know, it's kind of fun. I like I want to see someone like ride Death's Door for an entire fight with that middle one. I think that would be really funny. Um, but
The
I
issue is
really,
getting it and then
yeah,
setting that up. Like that, if you can mod that in, you know, then it'd be interesting to try. But it'd be a pain in the ass to set up either way.
yeah. I think I like that they all have obviously the theme of interacting with Death's Door. That's very fun. And basically, like, I think only one trinket did that before Death got added. It was the Hoarder trinket, Mortal Ward or whatever. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
so I think it's cool that Death rewards feel super specific and interesting because of that. And Only thing that's kind of weird is that they all look exactly the same.
I know they're
But I
gonna
guess,
do like they did for Infernal, where they're just gonna change the tint.
yeah, I guess what else can you really do with that? It's a cool idea. Just very metal, taking her head straight up. And I like that it looks like a flower from this angle. That's a
It's
really
cute.
cool design touch. Um, but yeah, they're not as cool as Warlord's trinkets for sure, but they're still fun. I don't think they're bad.
Yeah, and as low impact as they can feel, you get them from a fight where you have to have flags, someone that actually might hit Death's Door
Yeah, that
fairly
is a good
often.
point. Actually, you are always going to have Flagellant in your party if you get this, and he's a good pick for them. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. Um, yeah, I think Death is a little weird if you like really scrutinize her skills and her design, but like in terms of how an actual fight plays out, like in game, in practice, it feels all right. It feels pretty good. You're not gonna really notice all of the weirdness I talked about in her skills, except trample is still gonna be annoying. But what can you do? So I think I'd vote for A, no higher than that. But her cool factor really does a lot for me.
She does have the nice cool factor, and I do like that having to like if you're really paying attention with flag and you have like decent scouting, you can actually play around her. Actually, it was easier to do that until they put faction fights on the
I
road again.
can't hear you anymore.
Hello? Oh, that's right. Forgot I have push to talk. But yeah, so
That's fair.
what I was saying is I think she does have a cool factor, and the other thing about her is you can play around her a little bit by avoiding resistance encounters, but now that the faction fights are on the road, it's a bit
Yeah,
harder to do that.
I still wonder if it's intentional that she could show up there, but it probably is.
Yeah. I know you said A. I want to put her in B just because I
Yeah,
don't feel like
I won't argue with that too much.
okay, yeah, because I feel like she has some cool stuff, but then some kind of stuff that's just I don't know, a bit weird.
Yeah. Um, but I think on the whole, she's a very cool addition to the game. It's a very fun idea that works pretty well.
Oh, 100%. She's fantastic for a lot of reasons. It's just when you get into the gameplay stuff, I don't think she's as good.
Yeah, that's fair. Our old friend Shambino.
Ooh, I already see an error in the wiki page.
Where?
Heard a Shambler is a him.
Oh,
Shambler is canonically a female.
yeah, misgendering Shambler, tisk tisk. But yeah, I think actually I'm gonna take this time to sort of talk a lot about enemy design history in this game too, because I think this is really interesting. When Shambler first, when the game launched in early access, Shambler was in it. Uh, she was one of the first things they put in the first mini bosses we got, and what's interesting is that at that time she was more or less a complete one-to-one translation of the Shambler from DD1 into this game. Like, I'm pretty sure the only like they did the bare minimum changes, like changing prot to block tokens on the tentacles, and the tentacles got one new move that interacted with combos slightly. It just made you get weakened if the Shambler hit you with combo. Uh, Actually, this wiki is a bit outdated in multiple respects, but it's all right. It's accurate enough. But uh, Shambler was more or less exactly the same as she was in the first game, with the stacking buffs on the tentacles and Shambler cleaving you and shuffling you. But it was pretty. It was just realized pretty early on that Shambler was actually like kind of easy in this game. I think. Would you agree with that?
stuff in my face, but yes.
Oh, fair. Uh,
When you said history, I was like, I'm gonna listen,
yeah,
but I'm also gonna
that's
eat for a sec.
that's understandable. I don't blame you. But
No, she
yeah,
was too easy.
yeah, she was exactly the same as she was in the first game and considered very easy. So then they went and in the driving update, when they added the Shambler pet, they took that as an opportunity to also buff Shambler a lot, and they gave her like now she gets block plus on her bleed move, and then dodge on her move back move or blight. Uh, she shuffles you with her shuffle adds combo guaranteed, and the tentacles get more thought out combo synergy with the combo effect healing the Shambler, which is probably the biggest change the fight got. And Shambler spawns with dodge. The low torch effect on the fight actually worked properly now. Uh, Overall, they just brought it up to more in line with how other bosses in DD2 work, with a lot more gave her a lot more defensive tokens, gave her an interesting combo synergy that could give her some sustainability and prolong the fight more. And now she's really dangerous, as she should be, and as she was in the first game. And I think it's really interesting to think about because it shows how what was strong and threatening in the first game isn't necessarily going to be the same in the second game unless they change and tweak enough to make it fit within the new system.
A good point. And all of the tweaks they did definitely brought the fight itself up to speed.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, there are some things outdated. Like Wriggling Feast heals on combo, and they can't do it up front anymore. So movement's
Yeah.
actually a bit more relevant. So like you can knock the clappers back or pull her forward, something like that.
They also actually get the stacking buff from Wriggling Feast too. Like the Clapper Claw buff stacks on Wriggling Feast too. So it's not like they don't lose tempo at all by using it.
Yeah.
So you just before you kind of wanted you kind of wanted combo because Wriggling Feast was so much worse than Clapper Claw, but now you definitely do not want it. It is the worst thing you could possibly have happen in this fight is getting Wriggling Feasted.
Yeah, with how much defense gets generated and how death armor works, so it's like you knock her to death's door, she heals, she gets one back.
Yeah, it's it can be very scary, and but even with those changes, Shambler is just a really solid design concept, and I don't blame them for bringing it back for this game. It's
People were looking forward to it, and it was funny too when early access launched. No one actually knew if Shambler was in or not.
yeah,
And then actually, I heard a few people ran into it, but it was Thick of all people, you know. I think put the first video up,
yeah,
just running into her.
that was very cool. It was like, oh my god, she's actually back, and she looks so cool in this game. Like they kept the design the exact same, but the way she moves is just so much creepier than I ever imagined from the first game.
Yeah,
It's so cool to look at, and it's just a really solid idea. And I like the tentacles because they make me feel validated for picking Break on Leper. That's probably the best value you can ever get from Break in this entire game. And I also like that that the the Shambler doesn't actually have that high a health. It's 85 is actually pretty high. What am I saying? That's actually a pretty big deal.
Yeah, remember there's a fight that, you know, can get ordained and I think like sturdy and shit.
True, she can get battle modifiers. I did forget about that.
So 85 is a good amount.
Yeah. Only things I consider kind of odd are the 100 stun resist. Like that feels a little random to me.
I think she had high stun res in the first game too.
Well, sometimes the first game is also kind of random. Um, the her all her resists are pretty high actually. Like that's not insignificant. At least the debuff resist is decently low, but that's still 30 is still slightly above average. So
Yeah,
damn, I
30's
guess
solid, but I mean, even though you can stick debuffs, that makes blind like really good in this fight.
yeah, blind is great. The I think another reason she was easier in this game at launch is shuffling your team just isn't as crippling as it is in the first game because so many more heroes in 2 have movement abilities or can do stuff from more ranks than they could in the first game. You can have a more adaptable loadout, is what I mean. So like the shuffle isn't the end of the world unless you have like leper.
Yeah, I mean, if Leber gets thrown to 4, it's still a
It's
tough
still
time for a
pain,
bit.
but you can recover a little more easily than you can in the first game. And the block tokens that the tentacles give aren't quite as oppressive as the scaling prot buff they got in the first game.
Oh yeah, dude, they had like 40 dodge on top of that too at champion. It was
Yeah.
insane. The
In the
tentacles are much easier in this game.
in the first game, it felt like the tentacles were the real boss, but
Yes,
in
it
this
was.
game, it feels much more balanced between Shambler and the tentacles, which is how it
Yeah,
should be. I think.
yeah.
I think they really perfected the Shambler formula, as it were, with this.
We get DD3, they're just gonna port it over 1-to-1.
And then they're gonna find a way to buff it a year later.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just and then we're also gonna get Burn Flagellant.
I know, man. Everyone's the joke, but how can they not do it?
Yeah, got here. Anyways,
You know what it is? Like when he was bleed, he was really into pain, and then like when he became blight, he's like, "How close can I get to dying?" And then like the burn is just Ghost Rider. He went to hell and came back.
yeah, he's just a skeleton now. Yeah, that'd be awesome. You should do that.
Yes.
One other quick note is I've never actually done this myself. So can you tell me how much does the Shambler pet buff actually matter?
She starts hitting for like 6 on everyone,
Okay, yeah, that seems pretty bad.
and then if she's ordained too, it's even more damage. And with ordainment, she gets up to like 8 speed. So you're just going second the entire fight.
Yeah, like looking at this 1 to 2 damage on every hit, it doesn't seem that bad that she gets double damage, but then you have to remember, or I have to remember, that this is damage that's going on everybody, no matter what. So
Yeah, it's
that's
brutal.
pretty relevant. So that's a fun little Easter egg that can also ruin your life if you don't know about it.
It's an achievement
That's
for a
fun.
reason.
Oh, it is? I didn't know they added that. That's
Yeah,
fun.
it's there. I'm pretty sure there's an achievement for it.
Yeah. Yeah,
In the trivia.
there is no
Mm,
trivia.
there is no trivia. What the heck?
Uh Rewards?
Oh yeah, we can talk about rewards.
Shambler rewards are weird.
They're
Like,
weird, and people get pretty like they're kind of extreme on both sides. Either like this one will suck and it's unusable, or it's like I don't know.
best thing ever.
Yeah,
I think they're like I remember there were a couple previous iterations of them that were kind of worse.
yeah. I would say they're
Eyes,
all good now.
yeah, Eyes of the Void is extremely funny. Um, use this with Bellow to get a meltdown instantly.
No, sure.
And I think the hierarchy of sights, the stress converting to damage one is pretty handily the best one, but I think From Beyond is my favorite just because there's so few sources of debuff resist in this game.
Oh yeah, From Beyond is super good just because it's the same thing with to an extent hierarchy of sites is you're almost never at 0 stress for a long time.
Yeah.
So like From Beyond, just 20% DBR and debuff res, that's huge.
Yeah.
Massive.
And you can get up to 90 theoretically. You can't get 100 because once you hit 10 stress, you melt down instantly. But
Yeah.
yeah, they're fun. But they promote a play style that I am not a fan of necessarily. But even so, you don't have to be like riding riding 9 stress the whole time to get value out of it.
You don't. And I think that's where some people probably end up hating this is they try and do that type of play style where it's like, oh, I have to be, 5+ stress the whole time. And the success that I've had with these is just not like either switching them on and off as I go. So it's like I'm going into a boss fight, there's usually stress, I'll put it on. Or just waiting for them to get value, which may not be the thing everyone enjoys, but like,
Yeah, I
it
think
can work out.
I think unblinking entropy could be a bit stronger though. That's
Really, I think
a
it's
bit of
actually pretty good. I know the positive tokens are random, but you take a lot of incidental stress in this game, so it's just free
that's
tokens.
true. I guess. Yeah, I guess any upside for taking stress damage is going to be good. It just seemed a bit weak
Yeah, I
considering
can see
how
why it's one
powerful.
line of text instead of 2 or 3.
Yeah, that's gamer brain talking. I need more words. But yeah, these rewards are fun. I like that they also have a solid identity being around all related to stress. That's always good. I honestly have no idea what they're supposed to be though.
Like little tokens and talismans.
Shambler was just like carrying that inner heart, I guess.
Maybe it's more hardcore than that. Maybe they just make these out of her.
That would be pretty cool. I do think it's funny that you can get Shambler's Eye if a cultist is with you. That's a nice touch, considering that's a hero trinket of his, not an actual Shambler trinket.
Yeah, and it's arguably
And
his best one.
yeah, that's perfectly in line with the other Shambler trinkets.
If I could blame Red Hook for something, is the continuity. The Shambler's Eye looks like a cat's eye.
Yeah,
And then the Eyes of the Void are different eyes. Which one is it? Shambler's
maybe,
eyes don't even look like this.
yeah, that's a good point. Maybe they're not her eyes at all.
Guess not.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
I don't think so. I think
I feel like we said a lot, but also in a quick time, which is
really actually
unusual.
opposite, but I think it's Shambler's definitely high because like she was good in the first game and she's good in this game now. It's just a really solid concept that still works well. And
I was just gonna rip it and throw her an S.
yeah, that's perfectly fair. It's the most iconic DD monster for a reason.
Tentacles maybe B.
Yeah, tentacles. Tentacles can go lower, but Shambler, S for Shambler. It's what she deserves. It's such an iconic creature, and I'm glad they made her appropriately threatening in this game.
Yeah. It's like I don't think the fight needs to change anymore, and they even brought back the old tactic of pre-shuffling your party.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you know they cared.
Yeah. So for those unaware, you see a Shambler altar on the map and you're heading there, move your party around before the fight starts. And maybe you'll get lucky.
Scout studies
Yes,
what
that
the
too.
curio actually is. That's very important.
All right, we got a final mini boss, one of the
Final.
newer editions, but also a returning one.
And this is actually the reason I brought up the history of Shambler earlier, because with Collector, he's also very similar to his iteration from the first game, but they skipped the step where they have it in the game as just a one-to-one complete conversion, and they just skipped right to the part where they add appropriate tweaks to make him more in line with DD2. Like, he has a lot more token generation. Well, obviously he has more token generation than the first game, but he has more token generation than the bare minimum that they would need to convert him to this game. He has his heads have a lot more synergy with him than the first game, which fits DD2's style as well. And they all have combo synergy, except Vestal. But combo
The
synergy,
regular Vestal doesn't have combo synergy, so
I guess that's fair. But yeah, they have combo synergy. They have tokens. They have They have teamwork with each other. They and cure dots and stuff. Those are all things that have become pretty central to DD2's gameplay at this point in its life. So it's cool to see that they've actually evolved their design philosophy enough to make these sorts of changes right off the bat and not have to wait for patches to make Collector feel suited to the game's ecosystem as it is now.
well said.
With that said, I do think it's funny how Collector is look, Collector's stats are very calculated. He has 0 speed and 10% stun resist, which I fully believe is a direct reference to the obvious meta of stunning him turn 1 in the first game. But in the first game, he had decent speed and completely average stun resist. We just stunned him turn 1 because it was still worth going for, despite that it wasn't super consistent.
Oh, it's a huge tempo swing if you stun his ass turn 1.
But it was so valuable that we did it anyways. And now in this game, it is not an incidental meta that just came up. They have specifically made turn 1 stun his weakness, which I think is very fun.
It is, and honestly, in the first game, it's kind of like this in the second too, but stunning him turn 1 is the difference between a 2-turn Collector fight and like a 6-turn, 7-turn, someone dying Collector fight.
Or you giving your occultist taunt from a negative relationship and having him get blasted and die.
Yes.
I think just as a completely hypothetical example.
Hypothetically speaking, hypothetically.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he's really he's probably one of the hardest enemies in the whole game, and this is after the nerf where
he's been nerfed.
This is after his nerf where Collect Call only gives free actions to the heads on the first round, which, you know, I kind of on some level I kind of appreciated the level of strategy that the free actions gave, where you had to really think about which heads you killed and when. But I can also acknowledge that, yeah, it was a little much.
It wasn't good, at least to me, and here's why. His speed is so low that when he summoned the heads, your team usually has gone first, so the 3 heads get summoned and just jump your ass from the start on turn 1.
Like on round 1, that's completely fair. That makes sense. But
the other rounds, you should be more prepared.
Theoretically, the funny thing to me is that theoretically, in its old version, you could have all 3 heads out at the start of a round. Then you could kill them all with, like, I don't know, anamnesis or something, and then have Collector go, and then summon the heads again to have them take their turns. So that's 6 turns the heads take in 1 round.
That's value.
Yeah, that is value, and yeah, with that sort of thing, I can see why that was changed.
Yeah,
they were stubborn about it for a long time though. Like, people complained about it day 1, but it took them a while to finally give in and change that.
I have something I'd say about that, but maybe I shouldn't.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's said enough, just as it is.
It's not related to insider knowledge or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's still a really tough encounter. I think the trigger condition's pretty cool because Anti pretty much got his trigger condition of having a bunch of stuff from the first game, but now for him it's like you have a head because most of the trophies are heads. And then he's like, "Yo, that head's looking pretty cool. I'm
Yeah,
gonna take it."
it made it made one person in the Discord's favorite strategy of sniping bumper crop at the start of every run much more dangerous, since collect that enables collector to show up immediately. Uh, and I do like that they later changed it to make having multiple trophies in your inventory increase the chance, because like you could have you could have a trophy on your wagon already, and then you find a layer with a trophy you want to keep for the mountain instead, and while keeping one trophy on for the next regions. So keeping that trophy on, like in your inventory, is a greater risk since you increase the chance of him appearing.
Yeah, so pretty much it's either, because a lot of the more veteran players like to do region 1 layers. So it's either do the region 1 layer and just understand that collector might show up and, smash you, or it's waiting till much later to get a trophy, which even then, it might not be good for you in the long run because you don't get the power of the trophy while you're doing stuff.
And the very powerful boss drops as well.
Yes, yeah, totally. I forgot about that. The amazing boss drops that usually come with it.
Yeah, it's also cool how much effort they put into his entrance. Like
Oh,
it's
he
not
looks
just
sick.
it's not just he pops up into existence in the hallway like in DD1. He takes his time. He just slowly rises out of the ground. It gives you enough time to really dread what you're about to fight. And I think that's a very cool thing that they started doing.
It is.
It really feels like they really they understand how special and iconic collector has become and want to give him like the all-star treatment, so to speak, because his animations are obviously incredible. His special entrance and defeat animations are really cool, and the VFX on the heads are like insane. I
Yes.
don't know how they did that. It looks so cool the way they like fade away after attacking. It looks unbelievably cool, and there's just he has such a he's like the celebrity guest of DD2, honestly.
I know, it's like, you know what it is? It feels like him coming through the portal to fight you is him like isekaiing into this world from the first
That
game.
would be awesome. That was so funny. He's like, that's just the same guy.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, that time I got transported to another world." What?
Yeah. Um, but that said, there is one thing about his moveset that I take issue with. Like, I don't mind that he's as strong as he is. That's fine. But why does lifesteal bleed?
Well,
Lifesteal did bleed in the first game.
yeah,
And it didn't
but
make
that's
sense
not. I was
there.
gonna say it's not a good enough reason though.
Didn't make sense there. It applies combo, it applies taunt, it does pretty good damage. It heals him. Why does it also bleed you? That's just cruel. It's like designed to be the thing that death blows you.
Yeah, I think in the first game it made a little more sense because Highwayman was all the damage in the collector fight,
Yeah.
so he kind of needed something. But in this one, just the fight puts out so much damage that he
Yeah.
doesn't honestly need it at
In
this
this
point.
one, you get your plague doctor smacked by man at arms for 10 damage, and then you think you're gonna heal her next turn, and then collector just snipes her with lifesteal and bleeds her, and then she's dead.
Yeah,
It makes being at low health in the back no longer no longer safe at all,
it's not.
even a little bit.
I guess
Um,
thematically, if you want to go that route, like lifesteal is him just like ripping your blood out of your body or
yeah,
something. I don't know, but
he just drinks her blood like a vampire, I guess.
yeah,
But you brought up a good point with the DD1 collector having all the damage be in Highwayman. When it's funny because with how the changes the heads in this game, they're all so much more even in terms of how threatening they are. It's no longer just if Highwayman appears, you lose.
Oh, it goes a step further too. I mean, you may already know this, but in DD1, Collector, he gets a higher chance to resummon depending on heads dying. If you have like two heads and one of them's Highwayman, he has a very low chance to summon. The moment he has no Highwayman heads, he is guaranteed to summon the next
That
turn.
is really funny, actually. And couldn't he summon more than what? Like
he can summon two.
This game, he always gets Highwayman, Vestal, and Man at Arms. But in the first game, couldn't he get like a random assortment?
I'm pretty sure he could like. I don't know if he ever got more than two, but I'm pretty sure he could get two of the same one.
Yeah, that seems right to me. Man, we've come so far.
Yeah.
Because like honestly, arguably Highwayman is the least dangerous head in the bunch, and he's not. He is still extremely dangerous, but the other heads just make the fight so much harder for you to end.
It can, and honestly, oh god,
they still made Highwayman the DPS, but the other two heads are so much more valuable in this game because support is just much more powerful on the enemy side compared to the first game.
I would say the most dangerous one is Junia at this point.
Yeah. Though it all depends on whether she decides to throw by using Headstrong on someone other than Collector, or if she actually does use it on him. That decides the fight right there.
Oh, I didn't realize this. They have to have a... Oh, no. Okay, I see it. I thought they had to have a dot for her to use it, but no, it's one of these three.
Yeah. It's funny too because like if she uses it on a head, the heads don't have nearly as much health as Collector does. So like the heal 10% is just like they get 2 health, and it's really funny.
Collector, ordainment, sturdy, whatever other modifiers out there, he can get like 20.
Yeah, I've seen him with like 125 health.
He gets up there,
like the high end, and that's a great deal, especially with a Man-at-Arms doing his job protecting him so well.
I want to say the highest I've seen him get to with like ordained sturdy is like 160.
Oh my god,
it's a nightmare.
Dear lord, that is heinous.
Yes.
And the heads, what? The heads would be like
mid
40 at that point.
Yeah.
My god. Did
awful.
You win?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, the major Collector losses I've taken have been ordained sturdy and ordained elite.
Yeah.
Ordained elite ran my ass over.
God. That like, man, I'm sorry, but that was really good content.
It was.
Yeah.
It went to YouTube. People watched it.
That's a great video. I'm not here to talk about ordainment. That's not my job. But
well, I know. I'm just. Yeah.
But it does undeniably make him very strong. But I think, I don't know. I kind of like having a super strong, dangerous fight in like Region 3 where I can, like I don't. Let me rephrase. I'm not happy to see it in my games, but I think it is cool for like the story of a run to have like run into Collector and have it be a super hard and dangerous and scary fight like at the end to like really test you before the mountain. I think it's cool.
Most people are gonna have the story of they get their trophy and Collector's the next fight when you're still like beaten up, and then he just finishes you.
It's like he's just lying in wait to jump you the moment you get the trophy for him.
Yes.
He doesn't want to kill the layer bosses himself. He just wants to get you to do it.
He's just off on the side of the road enjoying his Arnold Palmer or something like that. And then you come by with that trophy and he's like, hey,
can you mind giving that to me?
Yeah.
That's that said, I think a thing that makes this fight a lot more manageable than it might seem is that, with one exception, the heads are actually pretty they're actually pretty interactable. I like how you can essentially lock them into doing one thing by moving them either into the front or back. Like Man at Arms can only do his attack in the front. Um, I think considering both his support moves have a cooldown, you probably could make him pass a
Yeah, I
turn
was
by
looking at
keeping him
that.
in the back, which that's very cool.
Yeah.
And Highwayman, I really like the difference between his two abilities. Um, Headhunt has a much tighter damage range, while Headshot has a much wider damage range but higher potential damage, and of course it also has the stun. Um, so it's not just a you want him in the back or you want him in the front to do his weaker move. It's like it's dependent on what you think you're capable of. Like
Yeah, do you want to take the bleed or the stun? Those are
if
your
you have bleed
choices.
res, you can keep him in the front. If you have like I don't know, uh, that one trinket that gives you buffs when you get stunned, you can keep him in the back, and or you can keep him in the back and risk the stun with the upside of lowering his average damage. It's just a cool idea that's executed pretty well.
It
My one
is. I
issue
just
with
wish he
that,
didn't hit. I just wish his ranking, like what he could hit, wasn't as
yeah,
open. Like he can hit. Like I don't think he should be able to hit rank 1 with headshot and
and rank
rank.
4 with headhunt, yeah,
Yeah, he could do
that's
well. He could hit 4 with headhunt in the first game because that was his only attack.
yeah,
But we're not there anymore.
yeah, exactly. Um, that yeah, that is a fair point. It would make things a lot easier to control, and I think that would be fair. But my issue personally, like I don't disagree with you, but personally, what I take more issue with is Vestal, because she can use her head rush from anywhere,
Yeah.
which I think is a little weird. I mean, you're still definitely better off pulling her forward so she can't use her debuff, because that is a scary debuff. Especially if it hits your tank, then you're in serious danger.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing in the game. There's a couple debuffs that prevent you from getting dodge. There's a couple that prevent you from getting block, but there's none that prevent you from getting dodge or block like this. And
And it's
that
also
just
a debuff, so it's not like there's some kind of inverse you can flip to get rid of it.
yeah, exactly. It's not like Vuln where you can just slam withstand and you're fine. Um, this is dangerous no matter what, and it it opens the door for Highwayman and Man at Arms to just melt you. It's
Oh
very scary.
yeah. Like you get Vuln and then like crit headhunt or something. It's like it's no joke. It's like 30 damage.
I wish I could use Hand of Light in rank 4 like she can.
I know what's up with that. Collected Vestal has a better handle light. What's up with that?
Uh, so sad.
There's
But
something I want to talk about too. I do want to
absolutely.
talk about Collector's moveset before
Of course.
we can finish the heads, but
Yeah, I don't have too much to say more about the heads. Man at Arms, he's pretty similar to how he was in the first game. Because these are actually, yeah, I think he had all three of these moves in the first game. But the stun only on working on combo is very nice. That's very generous of them, because if they had a free stun in addition to everything this fight could do, that would be very scary.
I mean, you are essentially comboed 24/7 in this fight, though.
Yeah, it just makes I guess my point of view is it makes combo clear
Yeah,
very valuable, and I always appreciate that.
holy water.
Yeah, Headguard is scary, obviously, especially if you use it on Collector himself. But I think the real nasty thing is head games, because that
Oh,
is
that's
just
frightening. Yeah.
if he uses that on like honestly anyone he can use that on is gonna be dangerous one way or the other. If he uses that on Highwayman, you're taking 30 bleed. If he uses that on Vestal, you're definitely taking that terrifying debuff is definitely gonna stick. And if he uses it on Collector, now congrats, you're gonna get life stealed for 15 damage.
Yeah. They have a lot of
So
synergy.
no matter who he uses it on, it's going to be scary, and it removing all negative tokens just means your debuffs are way less consistent in this fight, which is it would normally be the way you like lock down Collector. You just blind him to stop lifesteal from working as well.
Yeah. And they are a very efficient group.
It feels like it feels like you're fighting against like an enemy party just like yours, which I find is a really cool effect. Well, not just like yours, because we still have headhunt hitting rank 4, but what can you do?
Yeah. So the thing I wanted to circle back to with Collector, like his skills, I know a lot of people hate lifesteal. And I
Yeah.
understand why. It does hit pretty hard. It's got the bleed, and it does like this other stuff.
And like we went over, the 10% heal can be a lot.
Yeah. So even though that's a thing, I've heard people say, "Oh, it should have a cooldown," and I don't quite think it should, because even if it had a cooldown of like 1 turn or 2 turns, that means he could just cycle like lifesteal and collect call if he wanted to.
Yeah, in my experience, he usually ends up just cycling lifesteal and show collection.
Yeah.
Like that's just how it seems to work for me. I honestly thought lifesteal had a cooldown.
No. I mean, he can spam it sometimes, and that's kind of a dick
So,
move to do.
yeah, I think one thing we haven't really touched on is the taunt, actually, because that can
Oh yeah,
influence.
he just taunts all your units too.
Yeah, that influences. Like it not only sets up his allies with the combo, but it guarantees that they'll hit and take advantage of the combo. I think usually, how much speed do the heads have actually?
A lot. Well, not
Okay.
Barristan, but Dismas 8.
Okay. I didn't realize
Junia
they were so much
5.
faster than him. Okay, so I guess the way it's supposed to work is that like whatever move Collector uses on his turn, which will probably be last since he has no speed, is going to set up who the heads are going to hit next round.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, and that gives you a reasonable window to prepare.
It can. Depends sometimes, because like if he goes at the very end of the round and then a head goes
True.
first, it's just
Yeah.
back to back.
I just usually have one really slow guy that can go after Collector usually.
You spam Crusader and it shows.
Yeah, no, it's Leper. I play Leper a lot.
That's right, you don't like Crusader.
I do now. I like him in this game.
Yeah, 'cause he's
I
actually
just
fun.
I don't my skills got reset.
Oh yeah, dude, I'm sorry, I forgot about that.
I've been trying to get them back, but I keep losing before I reach a shrine. Anyways.
One other
Yeah.
important note too.
Yeah.
With the summon, it says all summons appear in front of Collector, because people say, "Oh, I immobilized him. I don't know why he went to the back." It's because since they get put in front of him, he just slides back. It's not him getting moved. It's
that's
other stuff
yeah.
spawning in front of him.
I guess there's nothing they could really do about that. I guess make the summons go behind him if he's immobilized.
Yeah, because you look at Leviathan. Leviathan's permanently immobilized, summons the hand, it drops in front of him.
Yeah. Huh. It's interesting.
It's not something that comes into play, but I'm just trying to address common concerns I hear about.
I've never heard that before, but then again, I'm not in DD course, so I guess that checks out.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering why people are immobilizing him instead of stunning him.
Because my assumption is if they can't stun him with their current team, maybe they could throw a bear trap at him on turn 1.
True.
And hope he stays up there so they can beat him to death, but he just goes flying backwards.
Huh. I don't know how I feel about that. Maybe that should work.
It would be nice to be a different thing to do, because stuns are a little bit difficult to set up on the player end, especially like turn 1.
Yeah, normally, yeah, that's fair, but I think them giving Collector so low speed and basically no stun resist makes it reasonably, if you have a stun on your team and you have a combo move, I feel like you could pull it off pretty pretty reliably,
Oh yeah, it's
considering he's
definitely
basically
not out
guaranteed
of
to go last.
yeah, it's not out of
I
reach by any means.
I like that they made proper stunning a considered strategy in this.
In this one fight.
Yeah.
Strangely enough, an MVP combat item are thunderclap grenades for
Oh,
this.
those are so fun. I love those things.
Yeah, and then there's a pyrotechnic dazzler if you want to try and throw a stun on him. So
Yeah,
you
the
have options.
roll the slot machine. Uh, though movement is just I like that they kept the movement weakness of this fight. Like they didn't give any of the heads any movement options. Because like if you
Yeah.
move Collector to the front, you can just like not kill any heads and just beat him up, and that's a perfectly fair strategy.
Yeah. Just it's a matter of getting him up there. So get your occultist, get your bounty hunter.
Get your Jester, the
Yeah. Oh, echoing merge, yeah.
secret best move skill in the game, I'm telling you.
You know, bounty hunter's so good in this fight, honestly.
Oh yeah. It feels so satisfying to like wreck a layer and then see him show up and you're like, "Oh, I have bounty hunter. I can wreck him too."
I know, it's like you're fighting the mini boss with your own mini boss.
Yeah. It's so much fun. I like bounty hunter a lot in this game. He feels very fun to use.
Same.
It's-
Is there
Oh,
anything
yeah,
else balance wise? I mean, if I had to tweak some stuff, maybe make the combo not guaranteed. Maybe make it like 50% or something. Just to slow it down a tiny bit.
Yeah, that's fair considering how much combo he throws out.
Do the heads put down combo too? No, right?
Thankfully, no. Which I appreciate. I like that he sets them up specifically, and they they follow his lead. It's a very cool dynamic for the fight to
Yeah,
have.
it's like
but
he's commanding them to do stuff.
it's not just like in the first game. It kind of felt like he just summoned them and they did whatever the hell they wanted.
Yeah, and you would kill Highwayman if it got too dangerous, and then otherwise just kill Collector.
Yeah, I think overall the fight feels very it's very cohesive, which I think is the highest compliment, one of the highest compliments I can give to a fight in DD. It feels very cohesive and considered, even if it is considered in a way that makes it extremely hard and dangerous.
What it does, it did the same. Collector did the same thing in DD1, where if you made a bad team, he will end the fight. Like he will end you for it.
Yeah,
And that happened in the first game, but you could run from him. And then in this game, if your team is bad, he's gonna run over it, and there's not much you can do about it.
There's nothing you can do. Yeah,
like I've done some goofy stuff. Like runs I've lost to Collector, it'll be like, oh, I'm gonna do this weird frontline dance team, or I'm gonna run the dodge tanks when I had like duelist and grave robber.
Oh
and stuff.
yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well my team is crap, and he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
And there's the fight.
That's what he's here for.
Oh, we got items too.
Got a couple. I'm honestly not a huge fan of these, although they're all pretty powerful, but I don't think they're super fun to use, honestly.
Well, there's no real thought in them. They're just like
they're very DD1
amplifiers.
They're very DD1 style trinkets, like giving you some pretty nice upsides for a stress downside, which is a fun throwback. And I like that the heads are all wrapped in different things.
Yeah, it's that's
a very cute touch.
Things.
But I don't know, they're not super exciting to me. I did very heavily underestimate that one line on Barristan's head where self melee skills block. That I didn't realize that until I actually put it on someone that basically translates to giving you block every turn if you put it on one of your attackers.
Yeah, or you can put on I think you can put on riposte and stuff and just spam block.
Oh, damn, you're right. That is fun, actually. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the Dismas one, it's just the best one, I would say, just because it's just straight power.
Yeah, I mean, in Dismas's head was the best one in the first game, so it's only fair.
Yeah.
Uh,
And then Junia's is the
honestly,
worst one, like before.
yeah, I do like. I don't know. It doesn't seem. It's not bad.
It's not.
Just
But compared to the other two, it's the
yeah,
weakest, I would say.
yeah. I just I sympathize because it's a lot. Um, Giving it just a plus healing upside would be way too strong in this game, where healing is already percentage based. Like you'd be healing leper for like 80 health.
Yeah, it's actually a fine effect. It's kind of like a lightweight holy water every time you heal someone, which is really good.
And it gives you more combo clear, which I'm always a fan of. But it doesn't have the sauce. You don't feel it.
Strangely enough, Junia's head is better. Like, it's a really good trinket when you fight Collector again. If you end up getting to do that, because you can actually get the combo off people very quickly.
Yeah, it's cool. It has its uses, but none of these are particularly like I don't get one of these and go, oh shit, I got that trinket. It's just like, yeah, that's a cool trinket.
Yeah. The trap gem, I have never seen this.
Me neither. I don't think it's real.
I don't think so either. People are saying like, oh, you have to get all 3 heads to get it, but it's like Collector only spawns once a region, so
yeah.
do you have to get them in Sluice?
I think it's a gaslighting campaign.
It might be.
Terrible. Well, what do you think?
That's right. We're doing a tier list.
Yeah. I think first of all, I think all Collector and his heads go together. I think
there's a lot of good things about this fight, but I don't rate it super highly myself.
I don't think it's S for sure.
Oh hell no.
Yeah. It's so hard not to be swayed by aesthetics. Like all I can think about is just like how fucking cool this fight looks and sounds in every way.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
That's not. It doesn't affect the game balance. That's my mantra every day. Aesthetics are not balance.
Well,
but
we're considering everything. We're considering, you know, yeah.
It's just I'm drawn to put him in A, but I know that's just because I'm forgiving a lot because of how cool he is. But
I was thinking B for Collector himself, and then like C for the heads.
Damn, that's fair.
You're free to disagree. I'm just saying.
No, I know. I'm just thinking. Like, I don't know. I feel
spider tier.
I feel like he does what he's designed to do very, very, very well. It's just that what he's designed to do isn't a perfect fit for this game where you can't retreat and you have to stick with one team for the whole game.
You know, I know we're not talking about like overall balance stuff, but I feel like a lot of the game's issues, like Death Spiral and stuff like that, would be solved if you could retreat.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite fit, but that's like the headspace I've been in.
I definitely see where that's coming from. It would be an interesting experiment for sure. But yeah, Collector's definitely made for a game where you can retreat.
Yeah. Yes. What are you feeling on rankings? You don't have to follow mine.
Yeah, I think Collector himself can Collector himself can go and be, like you said, and Man-at-Arms can go with him because I think he's very I think he fits the fight very well and doesn't feel too
thought you wanted the heads together?
Yeah, I do. But I also agree.
It's easier to rate them apart.
Yeah. I also agree that the other two can go and see. Because Highwayman feels a little weird with his targeting, and I don't like that Vestal can just completely throw by not targeting Collector with her heal. Like, the fight is seriously so dependent on that.
It's a sigh of relief when Collector's at like 20 and her turn comes up and she like heals Highwayman.
It's not even the like if it was just a heal that would be whatever, but the dot cure matters so much.
That's the most important thing, because usually how you're killing Collector is through dots. It'll be like, you wear out the blocks or you throw a play grenade and stuff, and then you just chip them down. Because this fight is as much about control as any other fight in the game. So it's like when you kill the heads is important, which head you kill is important, when you spend certain resources. So having Vestal there that can just undo so much of it or just throw the fight is kind of crappy.
It is so dependent on whether she decides to misplay or not. Like I'm imagining the Collector with his team in voice chat, like screaming at Vestal for throwing the game.
Toxic team leader.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
He's like an overbearing guild leader in an MMO.
What it is. He is an overbearing guild leader, but Vestal throws because he pissed her off.
Yeah.
I was sitting there going like, heal me, what are you doing? She's like, I'm gonna heal this guy. Whoop.
Yeah, he was nice to me.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm happy with this list. This is pretty good.
Yeah, I'm mostly happy with it too. Actually, I don't see any things I really don't like.
I'll let you put the barricade in F.
So that did a lot for me.
You should be honest.
It's like I got the one thing I wanted to distract me from everything else.
Yeah. Honestly, you said you scrambled the tier list last time to make a clickbait thumbnail. I feel like this could just be the clickbait thumbnail. It's weird enough.
Almost. I might not do that, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, I'm just goofing. Well,
it'll just be the spider tier. That's the picture.
That's awesome. I love spiders. All right.
What do we got next time?
Next
Regions.
up looks like Sprawl and Fetter to me. Unless we want to switch up the order.
I think I almost want to do Sprawl and Tangle just because that's the new player experience.
The denial experience. I'd be down for that.
Okay, we'll do that.
Okay, Sprawl and Tangle. Fire and Forest. All right. Well, I had a lot of fun getting back with you to do this again, and hopefully the next one doesn't take 4 months.
Look, I'm sorry. Okay.
No, it's partly on me too. I don't blame you. Yeah, I know you're.
I just realized it has been like 4 months because I remember we were trying to set this up in like December, but then
November,
we were both going
actually.
out of town at different times and stuff.
It was actually November, but yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
I know you're a busy man. It's all right. I had fun. I like this.
I had a lot of fun too. I'm glad you're still down to do all this.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be on the show, and it's a good place for me to ramble about D&D enemies, which I like to do, in case you didn't know.
So definitely it won't be 4 months till the next one. I'll try and...
It'll be 6.
No, I'll try and touch base in like a week or 2.
Yeah, fair enough. Can't wait.
Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching, viewers. And any parting words?
Cardinal is overhated.
Goodbye.
All right, thanks for watching.